Hokage I can fully level up with one click. Chapter 301-320. Chapter 301 _ Yahiko, are you going to turn down the invitation of Hanzo of the Salamander? Conan looked overjoyed and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Akatsuki's vitality is badly injured right now, and getting involved in any dispute is enough to overturn them. The last experience, Hanzo of the Salamander's every move was enough to affect their nerves. Now all of a sudden, throwing an olive branch to them is indeed worthy of caution. Yahiko, have you really figured it out? Nagato said suddenly. In case this time, Hanzo of the Salamander really has the heart to reconcile and give us Akatsuki to guard the place on Wulong Mountain, which will be a long-term benefit for us. Development is very beneficial. Quote. Having said this, Nagato couldn't help but pause, looked at Uchiha Chinyu, and said, although we have 10,000 tales of his help, don't forget, to develop Akatsuki, the money we need, etc. How much? It's even harder for ninjas to achieve true peace. The slightly elusive voice reverberated between heaven and earth, and there was no way to disperse it for a long time. Conan opened his mouth and stopped. However, when it comes to speaking, there is still no way to spit it out. After all, Nagato is right, Akatsuki will continue to grow and develop without territorial support. No, we're willing to admit defeat. Yahiko shook his head, patted the dust on his body, and stood up with a little difficulty. Otherwise, it will only be looked down upon by people on the outside who think we Akatsuki don't even have the most basic credibility. No need. Chinyu patted the dust on his body and said, I just abused the vegetables and didn't stop you from attending the meeting. What's more, you have promised Hanzo of the Salamander just now, and now you suddenly refuse, which will only make Hanzo of the Salamander suspicious. If you don't say goodbye, you will be punished. The expressions of everyone present suddenly changed. Conan couldn't help but asked, Chinyu, what should we do? Could it be that Hanzo of the Salamander is leading us by the nose? It's not us, it's you. Chinyu said with a warm smile, I'm not a member of your Akatsuki. Also, I think who Nagato and Yahiko were just now, but I'm still determined to win the invitation of Hanzo of the Salamander in my heart. Since you are confident that you can deal with it, why don't you go to the appointment and see if they are sincere or deliberately set up a situation, so that you will not have any regrets in your hearts. Going to the appointment. Conan's expression froze, and he said, Chinyu, are you kidding me? In case. For Chinyu to distance himself from Akatsuki, Conan clenched like an invisible big hand in his heart. Now I heard Chinyu even let Yahiko and Nagato make an appointment, which affected her nerves even more. However, before Conan's words were finished, Yahiko, who was beside him, was the first to say with a smile, Chinyu, your thoughts are really different. Me and Nagato are also growing up during this time, facing you, or not an opponent, but still a little confident against Hanzo of the Salamander. So, for the future development of Akatsuki, we are still willing to gamble. Having said that, Yahiko didn't go on, just looked at Chinyu quietly. After all, the outcome is in front of you, and as long as Chinyu says nothing, Yahiko will never go to the appointment. Don't stare at me like that, didn't you just say that this is your Akatsuki's business and has nothing to do with me? Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, someone is coming. The voice fell, and soon I saw 3 figures rushing towards in the distance, and the leader was the Anbu ninja from a Megakure village. It only took a dozen breaths, and finally landed in front of Yahiko and Nagato. You two, nothing happened to you Akatsuki, right? I thought I heard an explosion just now. Captain Megakure Anbu said suddenly. Yahiko hurriedly changed his smiling face, touched the back of his head and said, Nagato and I were training a combination of ninjutsu just now. We went out of the way and caused an explosion, which alarmed 3 people. I'm really sorry. Really? Captain Megakure Anbu looked around the arena with flickering eyes. After pausing on Chinyu's body, he quickly retracted. Since the two leaders said there is no problem, then we are not inconvenienced. However, Lord Hanzo attaches great importance to you. If you have any problems, even if you raise them, Lord Hanzo will try to help you. Everything is for the peace of ninja world. Everything is for the peace of the ninja world. Yahiko's cheek muscles twitched slightly and patted his chest lightly. Seeing this awkward chat, Chinyu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. However, Captain Anbu of Omegakure village obviously did not intend to stay any longer, saying, if the two leaders have no objection, we will set off after half a day. Thank you for your kindness, Lord Hanzo, then we will meet in a long time. Yahiko nodded quickly in agreement. He saw Captain Anbu of Omegakure village. He turned around and left quickly with his two men. Watching the three of them leave, Yahiko breathed a sigh of relief, looked back at Chinyu again and said, thank you for your accomplishment this time, but we can't figure out what Hanzo of the Salamander thinks. Why don't we gamble again? If Hanzo of the Salamander doesn't take action, then we have won, and the debt we owe you just now will be written off. In case Hanzo of the Salamander hits us, if we don't get out of here, we lose, and Akatsuki belongs to you. What? The small voice caused a commotion in the field, and even Gyujiya and others were shocked. This Akatsuki has developed to this day, and it can be regarded as a second-tier force in Omegakure village. Not long ago, he experienced an ambush set up by Hanzo of the Salamander, but there are only 300 or 400 people in the current Akatsuki station. If you count the number of expatriates, it may reach 600 or 700 people. This is more than the number of people in a small ninja village. The strength among them is uneven. However, if they were allowed to join any ninja village, as long as they were systematically trained for 1 or 2 times, it would be a good fighting force. As for Nagato with Rinnegan, Yahiko and Konan are among the 5 great ninja villages, and they are also very good ninjas. Missing Nin gathered, once even Akatsuki joined his command. With such numbers and powerhouses, I am afraid that even the 5 great ninja villages will be moved by it. Don't give it away, you are too weak. Chinyu waved his hands suddenly. What's more, I don't like dragging oil bottles. You should let God bless you. I hope Hanzo of the Salamander won't touch your heart. I don't want to clean up this mess. Abandoning these words, Chinyu looked at Konan and said, don't you prepare a room for your benefactor. I'll wait until the flowers are gone, get some sleep and go. Chapter 302 What if the ninja world was leveled? I'll prepare it for you right away. Konan responded hastily, then quickly followed. Looking at the distant figure, Yahiko's cheeks couldn't help twitching. Yahiko, are you crazy? Giving Akatsuki to him is a bet. He is the enemy of the 5 great ninja villages, missing Nin of Konoha Ninja Village. This is contrary to our concept of peace. Nagato took the lead and couldn't hold his breath. In their eyes, Chinyu extended a helping hand to them many times. However, in the case of different ideas, they want to draw a clear line with Chinyu. However, now Yahiko has made such a crazy decision to let Chinyu take over Akatsuki, doesn't that mean that Akatsuki should be linked to the missing Nin group? Kosuke and Might Dai couldn't help but look at Yahiko. They were equally eager to figure out what Yahiko was thinking. Have you ever thought about the development concept of our Akatsuki as peace? But along the way, we have experienced many wars and conspiracies, and even Hanzo of the Salamander, who has always thought that he can understand us, has secretly shot at us from behind. I wanted to make the world peaceful. In addition to having ideas, you must also have a strong backing, so that someone will listen to your ideas. Yahiko's expression sank, and he clenched his fists. What's more, under the contact during this period, Uchiha Chinyu is not the same as the rumors, and you have seen these Nagato with your own eyes. Of course, I just planned for the worst. As long as Hanzo of the Salamander really accepts us, Akatsuki will still be led by us, and, didn't you hear that? He doesn't even want a free gift. The slightly elusive voice made everyone in the field look different. The moment Nagato's cheeks couldn't help twitching when he heard this sentence, he didn't want to send it for free. He clenched his fists and bit Kiba and said, "Uchiha Chinyu, look at me, I have the strongest Rinnegan in the ninja world, and I will surpass you in time. At that time, I will give you these words back." "Okay, I want you to do the same, but Fairy is a little hungry, let's go eat first before we hit the road." Yahiko also patted Nagato's shoulder proudly. However, he immediately disarmed and surrendered because of the sound of drumming coming from his belly. Watching the two Akatsuki leaders scoff and leave, Kosuke and Might Dai couldn't help but glance at each other and fell into silence. This time they hid the identity of the Konoha ninja and infiltrated Akatsuki, which seemed a little out of place. However, it was for this reason that they were able to see that the rumors of Uchiha Chinyu in the outside world made people look at him with all kinds of madness. If you have to find an adjective, is this Taihan tenderness? You too, don't forget our purpose this time. The medical ninja, who had never had much sense of existence, suddenly said. Don't worry, we remember our mission. Ji aside, turned around and followed Chinyu's footsteps with Might Dai. Under Conan's arrangement, Chinyu lived in a VIP tent that was second only to the leader in terms of luxury. Teasing Conan again and again, after the latter fled the tent with a shy face, Chinyu did not take a rest for the first time, but instead looked at the door of the tent. Since you're here, why don't you come in? Don't you have something to tell me? Chinyu smiled warmly. Haha, your skills are really good, you deserve to be known as the Konoha Ninja Village, the genius closest to the first Hokage, the god of ninjas. Kosuke took the lead in laughing and opened the curtain and walked in. Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, "Don't put on a tall hat for me. If I guess correctly, you are here to be a lobbyist for that old man of 3 generations. The premise of asking me to participate in the 5 shadow talks is to return the tailed beast." As soon as these words came out, the smile on Gyujia's face suddenly became unnatural, and finally he sighed softly. Uchiha Chinyu, you are not only powerful, but also sharp-eyed and wise. However, you should be very clear that the 3rd generation of adults made this decision entirely to avoid the runaway of the times. Among the 5 major ninja villages, there are already 4 major ninja villages that have expressed hostility to you. I know that your strength and means are very strong, but your fists are no match for 4. If the 4 major ninja villages declare war on you, our Konoha ninja, the position of the village will also be shaken, and at that time, you will become the target of public criticism, and I am afraid you will be doomed. Quote. Having said that, Gyujia looked at Chinyu with a hint of urgency in his eyes. Under this kind of reasoning with Akatsuki's emotion, they eagerly wanted to see if Chinyu would make a rational choice. Damn old guy, get out of here. Dare to let the boss hand us back to those nasty guys. Sanwei's voice suddenly came out. Soon he saw that a tailed beast the size of a fist drilled out of Chinyu's cloak. Correct. The 3 of Kosuke were not mistaken. As Kawaii's 3 tails came out, there were 2 tails, 4 tails, and 7 tails. Seeing the appearance of the 4-tailed beasts and their angry eyes, Gyujiya and the others couldn't help shivering. Is this horse still human? They already knew that Uchiha Chinyu was catching the tailed beast. But it never occurred to me that in just 10 days, not only away from Kumogakure village, but Nanao from Taki Ninja village also fell into Chinyu's hands. Moreover, these tailed beasts not only have no seals, but also carry them with them at will. This scene, placed in the major ninja villages, is simply unbelievable. Why don't you talk? If it wasn't for the boss who asked me to restrain my temper, I would just open my mouth and slap you all. After giving Sanwei a vicious look, he turned his head and said, Boss, I did a good job. Huh, that, do you still have that? Looking at the 3 tails that turned into 2 hags, Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly, and grabbed it in the space scroll. Throw it directly into the sky. For this sudden move, Gyugia and the others just made a sound, and then even when they saw the fierce-tailed beast in the eyes of outsiders, they jumped up and grabbed food. Looking at the group of tailed beasts arguing like Erha, the three of Gyugia couldn't help rubbing their eyes, their faces filled with disbelief. Kimimaro, you can play with them. Chinyu threw a large bag of dried fish to Kimimaro with his backhand. Soon I heard the threatening voice of Sanwei shouting and killing, and went after it directly. For a time, the noisy tent suddenly became silent. Chinyu looked at Gyugia and the others lightly, and said, "You should also see that if it wasn't for the power of the ninjas coveting the tailed beasts and intending to take them for themselves, they would never hold grudges against people, nor would they there as a tail beast riot. I'm just setting things right. If I don't hand them over, it will make the times run wild, so just let it go, and I'll wipe out the ninja world." Chapter 303 The Formation of the 8 Inner Gates. To level the ninja world. Gyugia and the others' faces changed dramatically. They never imagined that things would evolve to such an extent. However, in the face of Chinyu's remarks just now, they were unable to refute it. "Go back and tell the 3-generation-old man that my goal is only the 9 big-tailed beasts. As long as you give me the tailed beasts, I don't mind what you will do to the ninja world." Chinyu glanced at everyone lightly. "However, I still want to remind you that this ninja world hides a black hand who promotes the war behind the scenes. I hope you don't become cannon fodder and help people with money." Behind the scenes. Gyugia's expression changed, and he hurriedly asked, "Chinyu, what do you mean? Who is the mastermind behind the scenes?" Faced with these 2 consecutive questions, Chinyu shook his head with a smile and said, "This is impossible to say. However, if Might Dai is willing to use the 8 inner gates as a bargaining chip, I can tell you who the Black Hand is." "Do you want the 8 inner gates?" Might Dai was stunned at first, then he grabbed Chinyu's hand with excitement, and said excitedly, "Uchiha Chinyu, you really are my confidant. You know me. The 8 inner gates, which took a lifetime to learn, are powerful." Quote. "Gyugia, have you seen it? Some people appreciate my physical skills." Might Dai, who was almost dancing with joy, Chinguji's expression changed slightly, and he did not expect Chinyu to propose the conditions for such a transaction. He and 3 generations of Hokage have seen the 8 inner gates in action firsthand. I also know the difficulty of practicing in it. If it weren't for the ninjas who focus on physical exercise all the year round, with a physical quality that is stronger than ordinary people, it is impossible to learn. Moreover, to really exert the power of the 8 inner gates, at least the 4th and 5th gates need to be opened. Under this premise, Might Dai understands the formation of the 8 inner gates. But his physical quality is no match for Might Dai. To be able to open the 5th door for a short time and reach the level of the Little Li Chunin exam. Forcibly opening the 6th and 7th, it is also a short time of a few seconds. And the backlash afterward will be even more powerful. As for the 8th gate, unless Might Dai has a mortal mentality, even Guy can only support it for a minute or 2. With his physique, as soon as the door of death is opened, I am afraid that the whole person will go to the gate of hell. Chinyu, although I have long heard that you know ninjutsu and have a natural talent for learning, the danger in the 8 inner gates is not as simple as you think. I advise you not to make this idea. Gyugia's eyes flickered, and he was the first to speak. However, if you really have to, we might as well take a gamble. Might Dai can teach you the 8 inner gates, but if you can't learn it within 3 days, then promise us to attend the 5 Shadows talks in person. Make things clear, otherwise we won't be interested in the deal you just proposed. For this suggestion, Might Dai was startled at first, but did not refuse at all. This formation of the 8 inner gates, he originally wanted to contribute to the Konoha shinobi village. It is a pity that because of the slow effect and low income, it is also accompanied by huge risks. Some people with ninjutsu talent are not stupid enough to waste time learning the 8 inner gates. Therefore, in the huge ninja village, only their father and son are working hard. It was just that Might Dai never imagined that Uchiha Chinyu would know about the little-known formation of the 8 inner gates. And still watching. And Might Dai valued the most, not whether Chinyu could learn it in 3 days. Instead, I was eager to go back and brag to my precious son, and brag to others that my technique of the 8 inner gates, even Konoha's blood-colored Asura Uchiha Chinyu also took a fancy to it. It can be said that for Might Dai, who has been a genin all his life, this is the pinnacle of his life. That cool but deep into the bones. Jia, do you know? You just gave me the 8 inner gates for nothing. Chinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly. If there is no one-click full-level system, Chinyu would not dare to accept this bet. However, since Kosuke made such a request, this formation of the 8 inner gates should not be rejected in vain, and it also saved some speeches. Then you agreed to my conditions. Don't you think about it? In the 8 inner gates, even Might Dai spent most of his life barely opening the 6 gates. Jia was stunned, looking at the expression on Chinyu's face. Smile, there is an inexplicable feeling of being on a pirate ship. That way, it's like being sold and helping to count the money. Jia, don't talk nonsense. If I don't want to fight for my life, the 8 doors will be opened as soon as they are opened. Might Dai couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Now he is the moment of highlight, and he has waited all his life to stand out in front of the genius. Now we can't let Jia lose his style. I know. Jia reluctantly replied, looked at Chinyu and said, you should have heard about the 8 inner gates as well. Now, if you are willing to make a deal, Might Dai will teach you the 8 inner gates, but I advise you, even if you have enough ability, don't open the 8th gate in the future, or you will die. Don't worry, I'm still very clear about my abilities. As for the death penalty, I won't do it. Chinyu patted Jia's shoulder with a smile and said, however, I still want to thank you in advance for giving away in vain things. Looking at Chinyu with a smile on his face, Jia couldn't help being stunned. This scene made him even more delusional. But as far as this is concerned, he can no longer think about it. Might Dai couldn't say anything else, so he took out a record scroll with his backhand and gave it to Chinyu. After spreading it out, he did not forget to guide Chinyu on the key points with great enthusiasm. It can be said that the material of this scroll has been around for a long time, and the edges are still worn, and the dense annotations on it are entirely from the hands of Might Dai. Beside and even at the end, there are still some encouraging words. Although Might Dai and his son are the ultimate figures of the optimists, I have to say that as long as a person insists on one thing to the end, the world will never fail you. Chinyu, look here, this is the point. And here. As soon as Might Dai unfolded the scroll, he explained it to Chinyu like a demon. Pointing at any point and link, it is simply unwilling to let go. This scene made even Chinyu's cheeks twitch, not to mention Jia who made a bet. Hey, Might Dai, are you crazy? Don't forget the bet. Do you want us to lose by telling him that? Gusuk, do you know what it's like to mentor a genius? I found my heart was beating wildly, and I almost couldn't breathe. No, I'm going to die, I feel the blood is hot. Chapter 304 Konoha Fluid Technique Full Level with 1 button. Ding dang, detects the host, learns the 8 inner gates array, is it full level with 1 key immediately. The clear voice of the system reverberated in his mind. Chinyu raised his brows, a little surprised. I thought it would take a few minutes to read, but I didn't expect that because of Might Dai's explanation, it could be read successfully in a short time. Immediately reach full level with 1 click. Chinyu gave a direct instruction. For outsiders, the 8 inner gates takes a long time to strengthen the body and reach a level that can withstand the 8 inner gates. But for Chinyu, the body that has been changed and optimized in the Raiden Thunder style, chakra mode for a long time is far from ordinary. The most important thing now is to see how strong his body is and how many doors he can support. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the 8 inner gates have successfully reached the full level with one click. With the sound of the system's ethereal voice, a warm current emerged in Qin Yu's mind, and everything about the 8 inner gates was imprinted in his mind. Especially all over the body, those meridians belonging to the 8 inner gates. Under the sudden surge of Raiden Thunder-style chakra, it was quickly cleared and improved. The tenacity of the meridians increased several times in the blink of an eye. Ding dong, it is detected that the host has learned the Konoha fluid technique, is it full level with one click? The ethereal voice of the system sounded again. Qin Yu raised his brows involuntarily, revealing a look of surprise. However, I soon saw that at the end of the scroll that was spread out on the table, it was obvious that there were also physical moves that belonged to Might Dai, as well as other Konoha fluid techniques. It seems that the system detected these and improved the body to the full level capable of performing the Konoha fluid technique. However, according to this change, Qin Yu can at most reach the level of Gai in the original book. Open the 7 doors casually, and the 8th doors will probably die as soon as you open them. However, all this, Qin Yu did not take it to heart. Accidentally get the 8 inner gates for free, and it's too greedy to keep wanting more. Thinking of this, Qin Yu thought again and gave an order. Full level immediately. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the Konoha fluid technique has successfully reached the full level with one click. Ding dang, congratulations to the host, the physique has been successfully leveled with one click. Along with a series of system prompts, Qin Yu's physique has undergone earth-shaking changes again. Qin Yu, Conan's voice suddenly sounded. Conan is soon seen rushing in. Qin Yu regained his senses, frowned slightly and said, "Did the itinerary change?" Conan was a little out of breath, and after calming his breath a little, he said, Anbu from a Megakure village just now urgently notified that there are traces of Konoha missing Nindanzo and his subordinates in Wulong Mountain. Let us rush over as soon as possible and help Anbu in a Megakure village. Go and search for Danzo. Danzo. Kosuke's expression changed involuntarily. Not long ago, Danzo defected, but he was secretly ordered by 3 generations of Hokage to trace his whereabouts. However, as the root leader of Konoha Shinobi Village, Danzo is a cunning rabbit in the shadows, and finding his whereabouts is more difficult than reaching the sky. In the end, the task of tracing the trail was over. But Kosuke never imagined that in this Megakure village, Danzo's whereabouts would be found. This is nowhere to be found after stepping through the iron shoes, and it takes no effort to get it. Looks like you've also been moved, why don't you take a trip together? Qin Yu patted Gyujia's shoulder with a smile. Gyujia came back to his senses and couldn't help but flip through Byakugan and said, "You are planning to find a free thug, but I would advise you, don't underestimate Danzo." Kosuke and 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Shimura Danzo, are the same students. However, due to being too stubborn in the execution of the mission, his companions were killed, and finally because of self-blame, he gave up promotion and served as a genin for the rest of his life. At the same time, it also secretly helped the 3 generations of Hokage to perform some special tasks. Of nature, it is similar to Jiraiya. If you tell me not to underestimate him, you are underestimating me. Qin Yu stood up with a smile and said, "There are some old grudges that should be over." Along with Qin Yu and others moving, in the village of Megakure, it belongs to the Iron Tower where Hanzo of the Salamander is located. The power of the guard is simply 3 layers inside and outside. In the dark room, apart from Hanzo of the Salamander sitting quietly, there was only the faint sound of breathing. "Master Hanzo, according to the report of the spies, they have all gone to Wushan Town, do we need to leave now?" An Anbu ninja appeared in the secret room like a ghost. No, have you found the person I asked you to invite? Hanzo of the salamander did not rush out. His closed eyes suddenly opened, and he said in a deep voice, they want to borrow our Omegakure village to lure Uchiha Chinyu. Appeared. Then let's take this as an opportunity to wipe them all out. Mangekyo Sharingan is good, or Rinnegan, this will be my bag. The dull voice echoed in the room, exuding an unmistakable smell. However, for all of this, the Anbu ninja of Omegakure village has long been surprised, but if the Hanzo of the salamander loses this kind of courage, he will lose his former style. Hanzo, you are really ambitious, but don't forget my share. A feminine voice came out unexpectedly. Omegakurenbu's expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly followed the voice. What he saw was a man in a white robe with waist-length white hair. Even his mouth was wrapped in white bandages. This infiltrating posture like a mummy gave people an inexplicable chilling feeling. Who are you, dare to break into the forbidden area of our Omegakure village? Where are the people outside? Don't come in quickly. Anbu ninja roared in a hurry. As Hanzo of the salamander grows older and passes his prime, his strength declines and his attachment to power declines. In order to prevent the power group from being violated, after the activation of a large number of close relatives and confidants, a triple-layered defense was set up inside and out, and a 24-hour rotation defense was carried out. However, now it has been silently infiltrated into this place known as the most heavily fortified place in the village of Omegakure. It was too unexpected. Don't scream, everyone outside was brought down by me, the bandaged man said femininely. However, Hanzo, you are really going back as you live, and you have to arrange so many people to sleep. If I didn't have some means to get in, I'm afraid I really wouldn't be able to get in. You are courting death. The unbridled gesture made Omegakurenbu's face sink, and at the same time he slammed coldly. He took out a kunai with his backhand, and jumped to rush up. However, as soon as he started, he was quickly stopped by Hanzo of the salamander. Chapter 305 deserves to be single. In the dark secret room, the atmosphere was a little depressing. Looking at the uninvited guest in front of him, Omegakure Anbu was puzzled, but in the face of Hanzo of the salamander's order, he retreated. I didn't expect that I sent so many people to look for you, but you couldn't find it. Instead, you came to the door yourself. It seems that the communication scroll you left behind that day is still somewhat useful. Hanzo of the salamander raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked at the bandaged man who seemed to be getting younger. I haven't seen you for a while, and your method, even the amount of chakra, has become stronger. It seems that the forbidden technique you have been studying since you defected in Konoha Ninja Village has also achieved success. Lord Hanzo, is he the one you asked us to find? Omegakurenbu's expression changed slightly. The bandaged man in front of him looked like the sky, and he was also 17 or 18 years old, according to the information given by Hanzo of the salamander. Compared to men in their early 30s at least, the difference is obviously too far. At this moment, he finally knew why Hanzo of the salamander called the boy in front of him younger. Hee, Hanzo, don't make that communication scroll too important. The bandaged man grinned, tearing the bandage around his mouth, revealing Kiba's shark-like teeth. I'm a missing nin. That day, Konoha Sanin chased me and you saved my life, but these so-called kindnesses are just a joke. There is only a cooperative relationship between me and you. If you hadn't told me in the subpoena to hunt down the man who owns Mangekyo Sharingan and Rinnegan, I wouldn't have come to you. Facing the words of Kai Guago, Omegakure Anbu, who was present, showed anger on his face. However, Hanzo of the salamander laughed. You're still the same, full of black water. No wonder you, like Orochimaru, like to do these pervert forbidden techniques. Hanzo of the salamander sneered. However, I prefer to work with people like you. Instead of dividing up Sharingan and Rinnegan with so many of them, it's better to work with you. reduce competitors, and get what you want after the fact. Why not do it? The bandaged boy couldn't help laughing when he heard the words. Haha, Hanzo, you're still the same, but you kindly invited me, and I don't want to bury your kindness. I will go with you this time. I heard that those guys have blood dragon eyes. I just got a new kind of power. You can try its power first. Quote. Oh, it seems that you have achieved a lot during this time. I hope you will not use these methods on me until the end. Otherwise, I don't mind and take your life. Hanzo of the Salamander expressed his forgiveness. Looked with interest. But between the words, there are more warnings. Hanzo, don't worry, I don't dare to abuse you in front of a demigod, and all I need is a Mangekyo Sharingan and a Rinnegan. The bandaged boy laughed dryly. However, after you prepare, is there any problem with the hand? To minimize the damage, it is necessary to make small movements in the dark. HMPH, don't worry, everything has been arranged properly, and at the same time, I have a new backer, and I will definitely make it impossible for them to kill one. As long as they are caught, they will be able to lead Uchiha Chinyu to appear, and then let him do it. How strong, with Orochimaru and the others leading the charge, we can also reap the benefits of the fisherman. Hanzo of the Salamander snorted nonchalantly. Accompanying Hanzo of the Salamander and the bandaged boy reach a consensus. In the huge ninja world, in addition to the 5 major ninja villages, the alliance formed temporarily began to besiege and kill Uchiha Chinyu for the first time. A day later, the border of Wulong Mountain. Akatsuki's black auspicious cloud robes, Chinyu mixed in with Akatsuki's army. Looking at the outline of the town that could be seen from a distance, his brows couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Quiet. This place is so quiet. Originally, Wulong Town was one of the most important places in a Megakure village. After the Second Ninja World War, it did enter into decline. However, after a period of recuperation, the town has not recovered as before, and it has gathered some popularity. However, in the middle of the day, in the huge town, there are not even half of the merchants, people, and even ninjas who come and go. This abnormal situation made Chinyu feel a little uncomfortable. Chinyu, did you find something? Konan kept following Chinyu's side. According to her own thinking, it was to find useful information on Chinyu in time, so that Akatsuki could avoid risks as much as possible. However, in the eyes of Yahiko and Nagato, arranging Konan to monitor Chinyu is to minimize the risk Konan encounters in the worst case. It is for this reason that Chinyu was on the way, but he smelled the fragrance of beauty and rushed all the way, which was considered a special beauty and blessing. You didn't realize that it's too quiet here. Chinyu didn't want to say anything at first, but he couldn't help reminding Konan when he saw Konan's urgent expression. Too quiet. Konan was startled for a moment, then hurriedly looked at the closed, somewhat dilapidated door, and his expression changed involuntarily. Chinyu, you go alone first, I will remind Yahiko and Nagato. Abandoning these words, Konan rushed towards Yahiko and Nagato who were leading the team in front. Seeing Konan leaving, Gyugia, who was beside him, couldn't help but leaned over to Chinyu's side, and said with a smile, Boy, Yuhi looks like a disaster, are you not afraid of this reminder and let Akatsuki's 2 boys win? You are kind, but you let yourself go without Kabuto. For this question, Might Dai, who has only one muscle root in his brain, also nodded again and again. In their eyes, facing the so-called gambling contract, they should put themselves in the most favorable position. People like Chinyu who have repeatedly released water over and over again have subverted their cognition. The princes of the Beacon Show are also willing to give Bo Yuhi a smile. If I release water, I can win the beauty back. Why not do it? What's more, do you think Danzo and the others will be so simple? Chinyu smiled and patted it. Tapped Kosuke on the shoulder. You don't even want to pay for this, you deserve to be single for the rest of your life. Kid you, Gyugia suddenly became angry. However, before he could attack, the mighty 200-strong team in front of them stopped first. This time, Hanzo of the Salamander threw out an olive branch and invited them to take over Oolong Town. But for safety's sake, there is still a way out for yourself. Yahiko divided the entire Akatsuki members into 2 units. The first echelon followed him to Oolong Town to test the authenticity. The second echelon, after confirming that Oolong Town was safe, pulled out and came to meet again. Akatsuki agrees with this robust approach. However, in Chinyu's eyes, he could only win a smile. Yahiko and Nagato, who were leading the team now, signaled for the troops to stop. Could it be that they also found something wrong? Chapter 306 Single dogs are superficial. Conan, you mean, the gate is closed, is there any ambush? Yahiko frowned and looked towards the town not far away. In the 5 countries, and even each country, every prosperous town will hire some ninjas from the ninja village, or ninja families to guard. The Oolong Town in front of him has entered a period of decline, but he should also try his best to increase the defense strength. After all, in this chaotic world, self-preservation is the foundation of development. Therefore, in this small town, ninjas were also employed in a Megakure village for defense. Yahiko, are you despising our Megakure? Captain Megakure Anbu rushed over not far away, and finally landed on Yahiko's side. Be the first to speak. Don't forget, your mission is to take over the ninjas of our Megakure village and come to guard this town. This is the gift of Hanzo-sama to give you Akatsuki's growth. Having said that, Captain Anbu looked around and said, or, your huge Akatsuki, with hundreds of people dispatched, will also be afraid of Danzo, who is like a bereaved dog. If that's the case, then I don't think you Akatsuki are qualified to guard Oolong Town. The slightly elusive voice made the expressions of everyone in the field change drastically. Among the hundreds of people, he did not shy away from speaking ill of others. If it hadn't been for Hanzo of the Salamander, I'm afraid many people in the field would go back with a sneer. It's not surprising that more people fought. When Nagato heard the words, his expression couldn't help changing, and he said, Lie, your words are serious, we just act cautiously. As you said, our Akatsuki dispatched 300 people this time, which is enough for an ordinary small ninja village. No matter how cunning Danzo is, he can't make a big wave at all. Facing the contempt of Captain Anbu, Nagato obviously couldn't take this breath. After all, there is a bet with Chinyu behind him, but it looks like a sharp blade hanging from his head. Now he can't wait to confirm the situation in Oolong Town as soon as possible, block Captain Anbu's mouth, and at the same time pull back a city in front of Chinyu. Yahiko's expression was stagnant, and he stopped talking, and then Nagato winked and blocked the words that came to his mouth back into his stomach. Yahiko, we have 300 people here, and you and I are here. Whether it's the remnants of Danzo, or any unexpected situation, it's enough to deal with it. Instead of wasting time here, it's better to lead the team to check it out. Nagato suggested. Yahiko's expression changed slightly, but in the face of the urgent gaze from all around and the contempt of Captain Anbu, he nodded in agreement with Kiba. Although Conan got 10,000 taels from Chinyu not long ago, the task came too suddenly. When it was too late to purchase, most of the people in Akatsuki had no idea that a ninja who claimed to be from the land of money had used such a large amount of money to make the beauty smile. Therefore, they are still in a situation of starvation and cold, and in their eyes, they are definitely fat and poor for the task of taking over Oolong Town. At least, to fill their stomachs. What's more, they clearly agreed with Nagato's remarks. After all, in their eyes, no matter how powerful Danzo is, he will face 300 of them. It's just one punch. Okay then, Yahiko sighed secretly, cheered up his spirits, and said loudly, everyone cheer up, because we don't know what's going on in Oolong Town, so we have to pay attention to our actions. If there is no opinion, then we shall go now. As soon as these words fell, the urgency on the faces of everyone in the field became even more intense. Boy, don't you stop them one more time. It's a good opportunity to win Yuhi's smile. Jia couldn't help but tease. This is a good opportunity to show. However, as soon as the sarcastic words fell, Chinyu sneered and said, "A single dog is superficial, don't you understand what it is? Also, it's useless after reminding. Of course, I'm rushing to stage a hero to save the beauty." Little brother, what you said is really philosophical. That day, I chased guy like this. Might Dai grinned and showed his white kiba teeth, and gave a thumbs up. However, let's discuss it when we have time. The 8 inner gates, there are only 2 days left to bet. Looking at your words, even Might Dai, who has thick eyebrows and big eyes, and a muscular head, gave him a contempt. Kosuke bit kiba and looked down at his golden left hand. This horse riding is a calamity. Let's go, Yahiko shouted again after resting the team. As soon as the voice fell, Nagato rushed out first. The rest of the people, in the case of hunger and cold, quickly followed. Yahiko stayed in the team. In addition to being behind a distance and supporting Nagato at any time, it was also to ensure more time to respond. Yahiko, do you really need to be more careful? Conan couldn't help saying. During the time he spent with Chinyu, the deep sense of security in his bones made Conan's reminder to Chinyu as if he was stunned. Conan, don't be too nervous, Nagato is right, we dispatched 300 people this time, enough to deal with any sudden change. Yahiko frowned and said slightly unhappy. What's more, you don't forget that there is still a bet between us and Chinyu. Of course he wants to see us do things with our hands tied and embarrass us in public. Faced with these words, Conan's expression froze, and he explained in a hurry, but... However, before she could finish her words, Nagato's voice came. Yahiko, there are people in this town. They have opened the door and let us in. Nagato fell in front of the town gate. Looking at the slowly opened door, and the 3 civilians who came out, he breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone, it's fine if you come here. The middle-aged man who took the lead glanced left and right with a tense expression, and said, the bad guys just left, but the adults in a Megakure village were also seriously injured. Hurry up and save them. While talking, the middle-aged man stepped aside and opened the door at the same time. Looking in, the first thing that caught the eye was some wounded ninjas and ordinary people, leaning on both sides of the road at the entrance. It is roughly estimated that there are at least 40 or 50 people. Nagato, how's the situation? Yahiko fell on Nagato's side and was startled at first when he saw the situation inside, and then he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. These people were injured a lot, but as long as there was someone, in Yahiko's eyes, then it was not the trap they suspected. My lords, come in quickly, otherwise those missing nins will come to sneak attack in a while. The middle-aged man urged eagerly. Not forgetting to look outside with a pair of eyes to inquire. Chapter 307 It's a blessing or a disaster. Okay, everyone will go to the town. Yahiko breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly greeted everyone into the city. Akatsuki members, who had thought that a death battle would be inevitable, relaxed slightly and quickly followed. Staying at the last Nagato, he looked back and said, Chinyu, you should have seen these civilians too, right? Their existence means that your guess is wrong. Once we enter Wushan town, we will quickly start to rest and adapt, and use this as Akatsuki's new stronghold. At that time, we will definitely be able to say that in the face of various forces. It is impregnable. Having said that, Nagato stared straight at Chinyu and said, do you have anything else to say? Be careful, don't capsize in the gutter. Chinyu smiled warmly. You. Nagato suddenly became angry, watching Conan approach, bite Kiba and turn to leave. Ha, I'm sorry, Nagato is all for Akatsuki's good. After all, Wushan town is too important to us. Conan obviously saw the farce just now, and said apologetically, "I hope you don't take offense. Is there really no problem here?" Conan couldn't help but looked around, looking at this unusually quiet town, but he couldn't help himself. What if there is a problem? What if there is no problem? Chin-Yu patted Conan's shoulder with a smile. They have already made up their minds, and now they have nothing to say. I advise you to wake up. The inexplicable words made Conan startled, and when he stopped talking, he saw that all the members of Akatsuki had entered the town. Yahiko, who was standing in front of the gate, beckoned to them. Let's go, it's a blessing or a curse that can't be avoided, and there may be unexpected surprises. Chin-Yu said with a smile. However, as soon as he started walking, he turned around to take a look, and Yuhi's blood flashed across his pupils, looking very strange. Chin-Yu, are you alright? Conan's expression froze. The situation is unknown at the moment. For her, any disturbance will make her feel like a bird in fear. It's okay, let's go. Chin-Yu strode into the town with a smile. This inexplicable scene made Conan startled for a moment, but after hesitating for a moment, he quickly followed. Chin-Yu, did you see it? These wounded patients soon accepted our Akatsuki, and the treatment is on the right track. There are many villagers who said they would go back and prepare food for us. Yahiko closed the heavy door and said excitedly. It's not as dangerous as you think. Look how eager those villagers look. Looking at the middle-aged man who had opened the door, with an undisguised excited smile on his face, he stumbled towards him, and Yahiko couldn't hold his breath either. He had the courage to bet against Chin-Yu, and that was to fight for a breath. To really hand over Akatsuki, who had spent countless efforts, he had no guts to do. Caught! I have caught him. The inexplicable voice that came out suddenly made Yahiko's expression suddenly stagnant. Do not. It should be said that the Akatsuki members present, and even Kosuke, Conan and others were also shocked. They came to rescue Wushan Town, and these people should say thank you. Now suddenly speaking, such strange words, undoubtedly make people tense. Especially Yahiko, looking at the man who was close at hand, grabbed his arm, and looked around like crazy, and then shouted. I caught the man in the portrait, my wife and children are saved. You said that as long as I caught them, I would let my relatives go. Akatsuki members who were helping with the treatment were also grabbed by the arms. Those who were originally injured also gave people a feeling of returning to the light. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves, and it made people smell an unusual taste. Yahiko, who originally believed it and thought that he would be able to mingle in a moment, was stunned. Feeling the huge strength from that arm, when Yahiko was about to break free, a voice floating behind him almost broke his nerves. Ha ha, I originally thought Akatsuki's leader was a great guy, but he was also a mere brat. As soon as the sudden voice came out, it was like thunder, completely alarming everyone in the arena. Yahiko and Nagato hurriedly followed the voice and saw a pair of blood moon-like eyes. That orangutan, Yuhi, penetrated like blood, and it made the spine chill. Facing this thin body but a ferocious uninvited guest in front of him, Yahiko took the lead and couldn't hold back his breath, and shouted in a hurry, enemy attack, hurry up and retreat. It's too late, the moment you were caught, you were already doomed to lose. The skinny Shui Lan laughed dryly. A pair of blood moon-like eyes, the bloody light that bloomed became more and more bright, and the next moment he roared fiercely. Blast me! The simple 3 words were uttered in a hurry, resounding between the heavens and the earth like thunder. Everyone present was stunned at first, and soon saw the ordinary civilians who had caught themselves, perhaps not far from them, at the moment when the voice fell. The whole body quickly inflated like a balloon. That terrified expression was matched with prominent blue veins. The terrifying aura that permeated the air rolled back like a frenzy, making people feel inexplicably frightened. The next moment, before they could react, a huge explosion suddenly ripped apart the world. Boom! The blood-colored explosion wave was like a frenzy rolling backwards. The huge impact force, and the power to convert blood into it, rolled back with a tenacious posture. Akatsuki, who were a little closer, were caught off guard, and there was no way to hide. The only thing he can do is to watch the bloodlight devour himself directly. No, Yahiko's pupils shrank suddenly. However, looking at the middle-aged man who had also become a human bomb in front of him, before he could say anything more, the booming explosion also sounded in his ears. Chapter 308 _ Blood Clan. Boom! A thunderous explosion resounded. At the same time as the blood shone into the sky, the violent explosion hurricane quickly rolled back around. The huge impact directly overturned the ground, and the silhouettes were swallowed up by the explosion in an instant. The violent scene caused Nagato, who was in the midst of the explosion, to be startled at first. Seeing that Yahiko was also caught in the explosion, he roared in grief and indignation. Bansho Tenon, Universal Pull. Nagato's right hand grabbed from the air, and the invisible pulling force instantly enveloped Yahiko in the explosion. The next moment, the 5 fingers were suddenly clenched, and a bloody figure was directly pulled out. Looking at Yahiko, who was directly bombed into a bloody mess, Nagato was stunned. All this in front of him completely subverted his cognition. As the second largest force in a Megakure village, hundreds of people perform a mission together, and it is matched with his Rinnegan. The result of this task should be guaranteed. However, the imagination is full, and the reality is skinny. Recalling not long ago, the reminder from Uchiha Chinyu made him look around quickly as if in a daze. Where are you? Come and save us. I admit defeat, you hurry up and save us. A hysterical roar echoed in the ruins. Nagato fell to his knees helplessly, holding Yahiko's bloody corpse in his arms. The sound of human body explosions all around is still incessant. On the contrary, Nagato's roar seemed pale and powerless. Haha, I thought that in the ninja world, the up-and-coming Akatsuki had some extraordinary ability, but it turned out to be just a paper tiger. Shui Lan flickered, like a ghost, and appeared in front of Nagato one step ahead. When he came, Shui Lan was the top priority, and he was repeatedly asked to treat every link with caution. Originally, Shui Lan was still holding on to the spirit of 12 points, and she never thought of thinking of the 2 leaders of Akatsuki. It was simply too stupid and naive. A single human bomb would directly kill them. Rinnegans that made him dream, couldn't help but reach out and capture. As long as you get this pair, the legendary Scorpion, coupled with the strength of the Blood Pool clan, Shui Lan firmly believes that it will be able to destroy the Kumogakure village and seek revenge for the great name who banished their clan. Thinking of this, the urgency in Shui Lan's heart became even more intense. However, the moment his right hand reached out to catch Rinnegan, the sight of his sight was lost. Do not. It should be said that the Nagato in front of him, like an illusion, was directly passed through by his hand. This strange scene, even Nagato couldn't help but froze in place. At this moment, Nagato's mind only had time to emerge, that figure that seemed to evaporate out of thin air. Only he can do such things that cannot be figured out with common sense under such a killing situation. Shui Lan, what are you in a daze? Hurry up and cast the Blood Dragon Eye. Shui Lan, hurry up and dodge, otherwise you will only have a dead end. Why didn't that human bomb explode? The hysterical shouting sounded one after another. Falling in Shui Lan's ear made his nerves suddenly tremble. Looking around in a hurry, all the pictures in my eyes, like paper paste, changed rapidly. In the end, along with a crisp cracking sound, the world in front of him quickly collapsed and split apart. The scene of Kingming was restored again, and what was the purpose of it? Grabbing the arm, the human bomb that had not yet had time to explode. There is also a figure that quickly enlarges in the pupil like a ghost. The thunder knife, which was swirling with cold light, danced a knife flower in his hand. The crackling thunder rang crisply and sent it directly to his throat. Don't. Shui Lan suddenly woke up, but only had time to let out a scream. The next moment, the huge head, in full view of the public, was thrown into the air with blood splashing. In the end, it hit the ground hard, and a shocking blood flower bloomed. Boom. The remaining corpse, at the broken neck, blood gushed out wildly, and after losing the support of the body, it went straight to the ground and smashed. This seemingly tedious and strange scene is just a few short breaths between before and after, until all the dust settles. Qin Yu put away the thunder knife with his backhand, and everyone present who had just reacted in demonic illusion looked at each other in dismay. Do not. It should be said that they were still immersed in the despair of death and were completely rescued. In the explosion just now, more than 300 of them were directly blown to pieces. The result now is not just a trip to the gate of hell, but a feeling of being resurrected from the dead. Patriarch! Came a low and urgent cry. 7 or 8 clansmen who also hurriedly rushed to the ground with blood dragon eyes, looked at Shui Lan who fell to the ground with disbelief. The sidelines were Danzo, Hanzo of the Salamander, and Orochimaru, who was shrouded in black robes. When they saw the dead body that couldn't die any longer, with a pale face, it was enough to show that their plan had failed. However, in this critical situation, they looked more urgently at the person who killed Shui Lan. Through Facebook, the pair of Gorilla Yuhi's blood-like eyes and the 9 rotating tomo exudes an inexplicable and fascinating feeling. You dare to kill our patriarch, you are simply courting death. The burly and leading blood dragon eye clansman roared up to the sky, his blood moon-like eyes twitched wildly. The next moment, the corpse that originally belonged to Shui Lan and fell to the ground was squeezed dry in an instant. Yuhi flew out and turned into a blood dragon in front of everyone's eyes. Accompanied by an awe-inspiring roar, the blood dragon of more than 10 meters suddenly swung down and attacked towards Qin Yu. Don't mess around, a hurried cry came from a distance. The blood pool clansmen in the field were stunned at first, and then they saw Qin Yu taking a simple Kaiden, fire-style, seal in his hand. Kaiden, fire-style, great fireball jutsu. The fiery chakra spewed out like a frenzy, and in the blink of an eye, it converged into a fireball with a diameter of tens of meters, and collided with the blood dragon head-on with a rolling posture. Boom! The fire burst, and the blood dragon was like paper paste, instantly evaporated by the high-temperature flame. When the Blood Pool clan people reacted, the huge fireball, Yue unabated and quickly enlarged in their pupils. With the explosion of fire, they were directly engulfed in an instant. Sweden, water style, water dragon bullet art. The young man who came in a hurry showed a hint of madness on his face, and his hands flew down quickly, forming a series of spells. The rainwater that was scattered all the year round, under the traction, quickly gathered into a huge water dragon of more than 10 meters, and went straight to the sea of fire. Chapter 309 Describing God is also an insult. Boom! The water splashed into the sky, and the backward waves suppressed the flames a little. However, in the face of this huge fireball with a diameter of tens of meters alone, the sea of fire caused by it. This water dragon bullet is obviously pale. Red Yuhi flames were everywhere, and the burning fire was only slightly stagnant. The next moment, the water vapor brought by the water dragon bullet will be directly evaporated. Such an astonishing scene completely subverted their understanding of chakra's 5 elements. Just like that sentence, fire is so powerful that even water is powerless. It's impossible, Qian you can't die. The young man roared frantically. The hands that flew quickly, like wheels, received a series of spells. A water dragon, like no money, smashed into the sea of fire frantically. However, in the face of such madness, it was necessary to extinguish a great fireball jutsu thrown by Chinyu. It also took 2 or 3 minutes. After the last bit of flame was annihilated in the water, there was not even a half corpse left in the air except for the smell of burning. Seeing Akatsuki with such a fierce power, the surviving people couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Looking at Uchiha Chinyu's eyes, full of fear and awe, some people couldn't help but take a half step back. As for those human flesh bombs who had a crazy mentality at the beginning, they fell to the ground in shock and fled around. At this moment, what saves his wife and children? In front of Xiaoming, everything is a cloud. In their eyes, the Blood Pool clan that made them terrified, under such attacks, did not even have the strength to struggle, and they directly turned into flying ashes. Not to mention, they are ordinary people. Black Zetsu, didn't you say that this blood dragon's eye can fight against Sharingan? It's not clear why he died as soon as he played. Danzo's face was gloomy and he couldn't hold back his breath. In their plan, the Akatsuki members were first lured to Osan town by Hanzo of the Salamander's orders. Then, let Shuilan, the patriarch of the Blood Pond clan, apply demonic illusion to the name of the village here, so that the blood in the container boils completely because of the demonic illusion and becomes explosive and aggressive. Akatsuki members such as Yahiko and Nagato, they successfully entered the town. Akatsuki members other than Nagato by surprise, including Yahiko and Konan. However, this seemingly smooth plan, after a group of human bombs succeeded. When Shuilan appeared on the stage, the whole person seemed to be in a daze, standing in the same place and shouting and giggling. This sudden scene shocked Danzo and the others. After hurried reminders to no avail, they all pulled away from him. When they reacted, it was discovered that Akatsuki had mixed in with Chinyu, who had originally planned to use Konan and Akatsuki as a bait to lure him out. I didn't expect that the Blood Dragon Eye, which is said to be comparable to the Uchiha family's Sharingan in the ninja world, would fall into the demonic illusion without knowing it. Black Zetsu's voice came from within Danzo's shadow. It was soon to be seen that the shadow was splitting from it in full view. The figure with a yin and yang face was squeezed out of it. However, compared to Danzo and the others, the look on his face at the moment is also not good-looking. Facing the last time, Uchiha Madara and Chinyu played against each other in just a few months. But the young man in front of him gave Black Zetsu the feeling that the speed of progress could be used by God. Do not. This kind of speed, even to describe it as a god is an insult. It can be said that all of this can no longer be described in words. This made Black Zetsu worried that even his old mother would not be able to fight against the young man in front of him, who even sighed at himself. Black Zetsu, we meet again. Chinyu took off his mask, looked at Orochimaru not far away, and said, originally, I planned to spend some effort to find you all, but I didn't expect that they would come to the door on their own initiative. Last time, when I killed Uchiha Madara, I let you run away with your tail tucked. I didn't expect you to gather all the people I wanted. Having said that, Chinyu looked at Black Zetsu again and smiled genially. You said, should I kill you first, or it would be better to thank you. The small voice swept the audience like a hurricane at this moment. Standing beside Black Zetsu suddenly changed. Do not. It should be said that in the iron blue, there is a little more whiteness. For them, the result in front of them was too shocking. Uchiha Madara is still alive. Danzo grabbed Black Zetsu's shoulder and shouted coldly, Black Zetsu, why are you hiding from us? Uchiha Madara was killed by this kid. For their older generation of ninjas, even the so-called half-god Hanzo of the Salamander, was facing the full god Uchiha Madara. It can only act as a little brother. It can be said that in the chaotic era of Sengoku, Uchiha Madara of Uchiha legend, and Senju Hashirama, the god of ninja world, But the mountain is pressing on the heart of every ninja. Those who once experienced, or saw with their own eyes, the way Uchiha Madara fights, can feel breathless in retrospect. However, now someone told them that even the so-called legendary ninja was beheaded by a hairy boy not long ago. This amount of information is too much. If they had known this result earlier, they would definitely weigh in on the temptation of Rinnegan and Mangekyo Sharingan. No, don't get me wrong. Feeling the almost murderous gaze around him, a trace of panic appeared on Black Zetsu's face. In the original work, Black Zetsu was not good at fighting, and was regarded as a support form. It's okay to let him escape. If you want to fight, many people can completely abuse him. Seeing Danzo and the others who were about to turn their faces, Black Zetsu explained in a hurry. He did kill Uchiha Madara, but Madara at that time was already old, and there was no way to exert the power of the heyday, according to my opinion. It is estimated that Madara's strength at that time can only play 1/2 of the heyday. Just imagine, even the original Hokage Senju Hashirama couldn't survive. Uchiha Madara was severely wounded and beheaded in the Valley of the End. It's not bad to be able to recover a small life, let alone live to be 100 years old and still be able to maintain the strength of the heyday. He was a twilight old man by then. Having said that, Black Zetsu raised 3 fingers and said anxiously, "If you don't believe me, I can swear that Uchiha Madara was killed by that kid, but Madara who was killed at that time was just an old man." The hysterical explanation and roar echoed in the sky and the earth, causing many people to look at each other in the huge battlefield. Chapter 310 Then Play a Bird. The huge battlefield fell into an inexplicable silence. The face of Black Zetsu, that spittle star, spewed wildly, and raised a finger to swear. When everyone hesitated, their hearts were obviously uncertain. Okay, you still don't believe it. I originally planned to hide this thing for the end, but now I can only take it out in advance. Black Zetsu's expression changed one after another. He bit Kiba, took out a scroll with his backhand, and handed it to Orochimaru. The sudden scene stunned the people present. However, Orochimaru's eyes brightened as if he had seen a rare treasure. "Is this the cell specimen you promised me, from Uchiha Madara?" Orochimaru quickly took the scroll, Yuhi's tongue, and licked Yuhi's slightly dry lips, a frenzy on his face. It can be said that this time Orochimaru is involved in this mission, except to obtain the modified Mokuden, wood-style DNA sequence specimen in the hands of Black Zetsu. In addition to being known as the god of the ninja world, the first Hokage Senju Hashirama, the cell sequence specimen of Uchiha Madara, which is also known as the highest Uchiha legend. In Orochimaru's eyes, as long as the two legends are gathered together, and the modified Mokuden wood-style DNA cell sequence is implanted, those after the impure world reincarnation will be able to infinitely approach the strength of their lifetime, and at the same time they will not be able to easily break free from their control. It can be said that now Black Zetsu handed over Uchiha Madara's DNA sequence specimen to him so easily, completely beyond his expectations. HMPH, don't you know how to turn around? As long as you summon Uchiha Madara, you will know if what I said is true. Black Zetsu snorted coldly. However, I advise you, don't underestimate Uchiha Madara's strength, and be careful to break free from your control. The face of this kind reminder, Orochimaru obviously forgot, staring at the scroll in his hand with a frenzy on his face, and caressing the surface of the scroll with his right hand. With the crisp roar of the air, the scroll exploded, and soon you could see a white Zetsu whose intelligence had been wiped away, lying quietly on the ground like a salted fish. This sudden scene made many people in the field look stunned. Subconsciously glanced at the other half of Black Zetsu. Even Conan, who was standing beside Chinyu with a nervous face, couldn't help but ask weakly, "Chinyu, he won't cut himself in half, right?" However, this doesn't seem right. If you cut half of it, what is the other black half? Is it his son? Hearing these words, Chinyu almost couldn't hold back his laughter. That black Zetsu was even darker, and cast a murderous look. If it wasn't for Uchiha Chinyu, I'm afraid the silly and sweet Conan would have been torn apart by his own hands. Conan, a vicious look. Black Zetsu suddenly looked at Orochimaru and said, "Originally, I planned to use this thing when I was dealing with that kid, but I didn't expect him to come uninvited. Now, with your ability, you should be able to summon them and kill him completely." Faced with these words, Danzo and Hanzo of the Salamander couldn't help but look at Orochimaru. For Black Zetsu's high hopes and the confidence that he would be able to kill Chinyu, the two were obviously interested. After all, if you can use a little less energy to solve things, why not do it? Don't worry, with the Mokuden wood-style DNA sequence sample you provided, my control over impure world reincarnation has doubled. Orochimaru recovered a little from the frenzy, licked Yuhi's lips, and looked at Chinyu said, "If he comes to be an opponent, it is indeed worth me to use them." He spoke, Orochimaru took out another scroll with his backhand. Along with the white mist, another Matsuri item that he had sealed in the scroll was also summoned. Seeing this strange scene, Conan and the others couldn't help but stagnate, and Yahiko couldn't help but quickly walked to Chinyu's side and asked urgently, "Chinyu, thank you for saving us just now. However, this is a trap. When I met Orochimaru for the first time that day, I found out that his mind was not right, and now it is not a good thing to suddenly use a living Matsuri product." For this statement, Nagato, who had been silent for a long time after withdrawing from demonic illusion, also showed urgency on his face. After all, the situation in front of them was caused by their own hands. Chinyu's rescue has already made them grateful, if they were killed by this sniper because of them. This is definitely not what they want to see. Hehe, don't worry, Orochimaru's methods come and go is also a three-pronged axe. Chinyu laughed dryly and said, "Apart from immortality and reincarnation, it is impure world reincarnation. If I guessed correctly, you are planning to summon Uchiha Madara and come out against me with the original Hokage." Originally, I still didn't have much interest, but I just learned something recently. Ordinary people can't practice with me. They act as sandbags, which should be pretty good. The slightly obscure voice, the teasing between the lines, made Orochimaru's cheeks twitch uncontrollably. In his eyes, impure world reincarnation has produced two great ninja legends, which are awesome things. Once it was broken, it should have shocked the four. The audience was shocked and exclaimed, "Fear surging," etc., to create the atmosphere. It can be said that if you can't scare one or two people to death, Orochimaru has spent so much effort in collecting and improving impure world reincarnation. However, now this scene that should have been awesome, has become so pale in Chinyu's mouth that he doesn't care. It just gives people a feeling like a passerby. "Don't hurry up, I'll be thankful for waiting." Looking at Orochimaru, who was about to kill with just his eyesight, Chinyu raised his brows and urged, "If you can't, then let me do it." The small voices, like thunder, exploded in the minds of Orochimaru and the others. Chinyu's pair of 9 Tomo Sharingan turned in vain, the blood was like a tide, and the space quickly distorted. Matsuri items that were originally laid flat not far from Orochimaru's side disappeared in front of everyone's eyes as if they were swallowed up by Uzumaki. When he reacted, he had already appeared in front of Chinyu. "This is space ninjutsu." Orochimaru was stunned at first, then exclaimed, "Hurry up, stop him quickly, that guy can also use the technique of impure world reincarnation." The sudden exclamation made Danzo and others stunned. "I thought I could summon two powerful legends to kill Uchiha Chinyu. I never thought that everything I did was to make wedding dresses for others. If Uchiha Chinyu can summon Uchiha Madara and the first Hokage, then they are playing a bird." Chapter 311 _ Learn to Tell White Lies. Orochimaru, voiceless exclamation made everyone's nerves tense. For Uchiha Chinyu, 2 Impure World Reincarnation Matsuri products were suddenly snatched away. Orochimaru is not sure whether Chinyu understands the technique of Impure World Reincarnation. However, the rumored learning talent that was astonishing, and the Impure World Reincarnation scroll he carried with him during the battle that day did fall into Chinyu's hands. All of these added up, and Orochimaru's nerves were obviously tense, and he became like a bird in a panic. However, in this violent situation, the people present had no time to react. Chinyu's hands that were flying like wheels formed a series of magic seals in front of everyone's eyes. When Orochimaru's words dissipated, Chinyu suddenly put his hands together. The art of Impure World Reincarnation. Boom! There was a roar on the ground, and the mysterious magic spell quickly spread around like a spider web. Bodies of the 2 Matsuri products. Accompanied by the terrifying muscle squirming of Matsuri, it collapsed in the eyes of everyone in astonishment. Then, like clay, it was quickly reorganized, and in the blink of an eye, 2 divine horses were formed. A pair of Impure World Reincarnation, with unique dark eyes, exudes a terrifying aura. Yes, it is really the first Hokage Senju Hashirama, and the legend of the Uchiha family, Uchiha Madara. No one in the field exclaimed. Looking at the 2 figures that suddenly appeared, my nerves were shaken. Danzo's expression also changed slightly. As a disciple of the first Hokage and the second Hokage, he knew exactly what kind of weight these 2 people represented. Originally, 1 Uchiha Chinyu was enough for them to deal with the pain. Not to mention, 2 more ninja legends have emerged now. What happened to this horse? Orochimaru, is this your masterpiece again? I should have stopped Tobirama early in the day and developed this forbidden technique that makes the dead restless. The first Hokage turned his eyes in vain and fell on Orochimaru, saying, but, there is no way, this time, who did you ask me to kill? However, before the first Hokage erupted, Uchiha Madara's voice made him startled for a moment. Hashirama, you are still the same, you are naturally stunned, let these juniors manipulate at will, don't you think that you have ruined your reputation? The voice fell, and a huge wave of chakra detonated instantly on Uchiha Madara's body, and the rolled-up air wave rolled back in a rolling posture. Faced with this sudden outburst, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Even Hanzo of the Salamander, the so-called demigod, and Orochimaru couldn't help but take a half-step back. However, in the face of this scene, Danzo's expression changed, and he said in a deep voice, Uchiha Madara, the person who summoned you as Uchiha Chinyu behind you. I heard that he killed you with his own hands not long ago. As a second-generation Hokage student, Danzo knows exactly what flaws Impure World Reincarnation has. Once the controlled person is stronger than the control, Impure World Reincarnation will be forced to get rid of. Now Uchiha Chinyu, but threatened to kill Uchiha Madara. If all this is true, Danzo believes that Uchiha Madara's strength alone will break free from this Impure World Reincarnation and attack Uchiha Chinyu violently. Once that time comes, even Uchiha Madara can't be used by them. Can also deal with the original Hokage Senju Hashirama. However, this idea just sprouted in Danzo's mind, and the next moment, a ghostly figure appeared in front of him like a ghost. One-handed hand seal, the fiery chakra rushed out like a frenzy. Cadent fire style, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. The flames that filled the sky turned into a hurricane, and directly swallowed Danzo, who was full of confusion. In a rolling posture, it rolled backwards around. Orochimaru and the others who were present were stunned for a moment, and before they could think about it, they quickly pulled away and quickly retreated. After escaping dozens of meters away, and feeling that the fiery sea of fire was not approaching, he stopped and followed Danzo's trail. However, what caught the eye was a sea of blazing fires. Is this the strength of Uchiha Madara, able to perform Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu as well as Uchiha Chinyu? Orochimaru said with a livid face. Thinking of it, this trump card that belonged to him turned out to be a wedding dress for others. That heart hurts. Shut up, you want to die, I don't want to die. Black Zetsu shouted angrily. He had been with Uchiha Madara, and of course knew his Tsunere character. Now Orochimaru even compares Uchiha Madara with Chinyu. This is a self-destruction. However, as soon as these words fell, Uchiha Madara suddenly turned to look at the two of them. The hands flew, the spell seal formed, and the fiery flames that spit out, forming a huge fireball like a meteorite outside the sky. Kaden, fire style, great fire destruction. The distance of tens of meters was only shortened in the blink of an eye. The bursting flames directly swallowed Orochimaru and buildings hundreds of meters in radius, turning everything into an endless sea of fire. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Standing not far away, Yahiko, Nagato and others couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Watching Uchiha Madara move his hands and feet, use the mediocre Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu to display the power of S-level ninjutsu. If they were to face each other, it would be a dead end. Thinking that not long ago, Uchiha Chinyu killed such a terrifying existence, if they hadn't heard about it, they would never have believed it. Madara, don't be impulsive. Senju Hashirama appeared on Uchiha Madara's side like a ghost, and put his hand on his shoulder. Don't mess around until things are clarified, and we were summoned, but we were not forced to do anything, so we don't have to try to break free from the impure world reincarnation technique for the time being. The last time I was summoned by Orochimaru, because Orochimaru did not have Master's deeper Mokuden, wood-style, chakra, and the optimization of impure world reincarnation. Therefore, at that time, Senju Hashirama had only 1/20th of the strength. Compared with the current state, it was completely different. Moreover, Chinyu summoned them out, but he did not have Master Orochimaru's means to strengthen the control of spells. To break free from this impure world reincarnation, as long as you know the order of the hand seal, it is not a problem. Hehe, Lord Hokage of the first generation is right. I didn't order you to do it. It's just that they came out of their mouths and brought disaster. Chinyu laughed dryly, touched the tip of his nose and said, sometimes, being a human being learn to tell some white lies. Quote. Madara, do you think I'm right? The small voice instantly tensed everyone's nerves at this moment. For many people, this almost heaven-defying technique of impure world reincarnation was able to channel two legends of the ninja world, which is already shocking. However, now Chinyu not only has no fear at all, but is relatively indifferent, which is too bold. Chapter 312 If you can kill once, you can kill a second time. Boy, you are courting death. Uchiha Madara roared. The violent chakra detonated in his body again. As soon as he stepped down, the instant body technique reached ultimate and appeared directly in front of Chinyu. The hands fluttered to form a series of jutsu marks, intending to kill Uchiha Chinyu under the Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu in an instant. Kaden, fire-style, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. The awe-inspiring roar burst like thunder, and fiery flames gushed out. Boom! The flames that filled the sky burst out and turned into a sea of fire, which instantly devoured Uchiha Chinyu directly. The tyrannical method was even worse than the previous one, which was enough to show how deep his hatred for Uchiha Chinyu was. However, before Uchiha Madara could react, an invisible huge gravity fell from the sky without warning. The huge impact, in this unexpected situation, directly smashed him to the ground. Boom! A piece of dust stirred up, and the cracked ground was even more shocking. The impure world reincarnation, the body made of dust and dirt also showed signs of cracks like spider webs. However, before Uchiha Madara could react, a black flame-like ink burned directly on Madara's body. Amaterasu. The indifferent voice gave people a feeling of death. The instant the black flames were generated, the clay body transformed by impure world reincarnation quickly burned. Chinyu once had a conjecture that the second-generation Hokage used the technique of detonating each other in order to deal with Madara of impure world reincarnation. With the help of the continuous explosion between the charms, a large number of detonating charms are summoned. In a split second, a multi-stage explosion at a fixed point, using a saturation attack, surpassed the recovery ability of impure world reincarnation, and may be able to directly disintegrate this undead body. In the original book, when Uchiha Itachi and Nagato after impure world reincarnation fought and cast Amaterasu. If Nagato hadn't used the Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign and bounced off the black flames on his body, he would have been restrained by Amaterasu. However, as soon as the flames rose, Uchiha Madara's body immediately burst into light blue pupil power. With Susanoo's unfolding, he directly separated the black flames on his body. Originally embarrassed, the torn and burned body turned into ashes and quickly built up. Susanoo carried all the gravity on his body. At the same time, Chinyu, who was bathed in the sea of fire, was also wrapped in the blood like Susanoo of the orangutan Yuhi, and a pair of 9 Tomo Mangekyo Sharingan like the blood moon gave people a chilling smell. This scene, Uchiha Madara's expression instantly contorted and roared in anger. "You bastard, challenge me to the majesty of Uchiha Madara again and again, and I will let you die without a place to die like those two guys." However, this time, before he could make another move, a tree root like a horned dragon burst out of the ground in an instant, directly entangling Madara's body. "Madara, you are still the same, as always, with the same urge to figure things out first," Senju Hashirama urged urgently. As Uchiha Madara's old rival, Senju Hashirama clearly knows how to deal with this Susanoo. "The first Hokage is right." Chinyu laughed dryly. "If I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time. What's more, your attack just now seems to be very fierce, but if you feel it carefully, those two little guys have 10 lives and won't die easily." Listening to these slightly joking voices, Danzo and Orochimaru, who were hiding in the dark, were about to greet Chinyu's ancestor Tenyashira. One had intended to sow discord, but was violently set on fire. The other one, originally planned to summon 2 awesome guys to be his trump card. Who knew that the misfortune came out of the mouth and was almost killed? "If it hadn't been a great way to escape, I would have to get a lunchbox now, and I wouldn't have a chance to show up in the next chapter." Court death. Uchiha Madara's expression froze, and the pair of Mangekyo Sharingan turned in vain, and instantly locked on the building not far away. "Lord Madara, don't be impulsive, we have allied with Danzo, Orochimaru and Hanzo of the Salamander this time to eradicate this hateful boy." Black Zetsu emerged from the ground. Now, he is still bearing the identity of Uchiha Madara's will, so he is obviously a bit convincing in this situation where he wants to kill someone if he doesn't agree. Danzo and Orochimaru collaborated. The first Hokage couldn't help but look at him for a while, looked at Danzo who walked out behind the big tree, frowned and said, "I remember that when you were a child, I personally guided you, and later joined because of your good talent. The team led by Tobirama is right with the monkey, how did it get mixed up with missing Nino Orochimaru?" Quote. The sudden question made Danzo's nerves tense. Uchiha Madara's violent attack has already made him walk before the gate of hell. He didn't want to face the first-generation Hokage, who claimed to be the one who beat Uchiha Madara. Hehe, you don't understand why he became missing Nin, and why he survived the attack just now, right? Chinyu laughed dryly and said, "Look at his right hand, it will be clear." The small voice made Danzo's nerves tense, and he quickly covered the bandage on his arm. The face of Uchiha fierce Kaden, fire style, Danzo cast Izanagi at the last minute, turning everything into an illusion, and was able to save his life. Uchiha Madara, who has always been a strong defender, sees it. I am afraid that the 6 or 7 lives on this arm will not be saved. Sir Madara, calm down, don't be impulsive, he is now our ally in dealing with Uchiha Chinyu. Black Zetsu was sweating hotly on his forehead, like an ant on a hot pot. He now wanted to kick Orochimaru to death. Rare for him to take out the trump card of Uchiha Madara and show it off here, so that Chinyu can take advantage of it. A good hand of cards was smashed directly. Now Black Zetsu can only pray to Uchiha Madara to be quiet and listen to him. It's the arm transplanted with Hashirama's cells, and there are a lot of Sharingan. It seems that this method is related to Orochimaru. Uchiha Madara did not have the impulse this time. He has lived in the ninja world for almost 100 years, and even if he gave birth secretly, he also knows the situation of the ninja world like the back of the back. In particular, the Konoha ninja village he built with Senju Hashirama, he knew exactly what talent came out, who defected, and why. Hehe, Madara-sama, you really exalted me, but the cells of the first-generation Hokage-sama are indeed very domineering. Most of the human body research materials over the years can't bear it, and they died directly. Only a few people survived. Orochimaru stepped out of the darkness, licked his dry lips, and smiled femininely. Chapter 313 _ Are you ready to be killed a third time? The face of the praise from the legendary Uchiha Madara of the Uchiha clan, it is still very useful for the genius of Orochimaru. It's just that this smile has just emerged, and the next moment it stiffens. You bastard, dare to use my cells to harm people. Mokuden, wood style, thorn of the thousand woods. Senju Hashirama, who had been persuading her all the time, suddenly moved. The moment his hands clasped together suddenly, a roar rang out from the ground, and a tree thorn, like a spear, directly penetrated Orochimaru's body. The blood splashed, and a shocking blood flower bloomed, causing everyone's pupils to shrink suddenly. Many people present did not expect that Senju Hashirama also had a ruthless scene. Cough, the first Hokage, you should save some energy. If you say who is the most difficult to kill in this ninja world, this stinky snake claims to be the second, and I am afraid no one dares to call it the first. Chinyu said while touching the tip of his nose. Soon, I saw Orochimaru stabbed like a sieve, his body twitched slightly, under the eyes of everyone who was almost sick. A pair of big hands as white as snow protruded directly from the throat to the mouth. Kiba's teeth up and down with both hands, he suddenly exerted force, tearing his mouth apart in full view of the public, and a body covered in saliva slipped to the ground like a boneless body. Such a horrific operation is simply outrageous. Yuck. The sound of retching came from among the Akatsuki members not far away. Facing such a scene, even Conan couldn't help but hug his slightly trembling arms. Is this the monkey's apprentice? It's really fucking disgusting. Senju Hashirama rolled his eyes and said, however, since you can't kill it, then don't kill it. It's not up to us dead people to take care of this kind of thing. Hokage who instantly became the shopkeeper, the people present finally understood why Uchiha Madara had been despised in the first place. However, you kid, why did you become missing nin? I remember the last time we met, and I was still thinking, next time you should become Hokage. Senju Hashirama turned to look at Chinyu. Seeing this scene, Black Zetsu suddenly came to his senses. If the first Hokage can also be successful in sowing discord, then the plan can be put in order and they will become the ace in the fight against Uchiha Chinyu. The first Hokage, Sama, you don't know, that day Uchiha Chinyu betrayed the Konoha shinobi village, not only secretly hunting the 3 generations of Raikage, the 3 generations of Mizukage, the 3 generations of Kazekage, the even-tailed beast and the human Jinchuriki column force, but also unavoidable. A calamity, but now he has three-tailed beasts in his hands, and at the same time he plans to fight the 5 big ninja villages. Black Zetsu spitting Shinzi opened, and hurriedly turned on the strongest mouth cannon mode. Lord Hokage of the first generation, as a hero in pacifying the war, you definitely don't want to see the ninja world fall into chaos. Once you let him gather all the 9 big-tailed beasts, who of the 5 countries can fight against him? The slightly long-sounding voice reverberated between heaven and earth. The taste between the lines is simply Akatsuki's reasoning and emotion. If you can, add 2 tears and it's just perfect. Are you finished? The first Hokage was stunned for a moment. The next moment, in full view of the public, he crossed his hips and laughed loudly. Madara, have you seen it? I just said, Konoha is a talented person who killed 3 generations of Raikage. To kill 3 generations of Mizukage, and even 3 generations of Kazekage have not let go, this method is really good. If, one day, you even catch the 9 big-tailed beasts, then, I really want to fight with you to see who is the best. After all, the tailed beasts, there is no pressure to catch them, it's too trivial. Quote. The unbridled laughter reverberated between heaven and earth, causing the huge scene to fall into inexplicable silence. Even Black Zetsu, the most powerful mouthpiece, was stunned. I thought that letting the first generation of Hokage know that Uchiha Chinyu's evil deeds would arouse the heart to clean up the door. I never thought that everything presented in front of me would not develop according to the script at all. The original Hokage, Sama, aren't you resentful? This is the missing nin of Konoha Shinobi Village. Black Zetsu asked with a livid face, unable to restrain himself. So what? I'm a dead man, and I can't handle this kind of thing. The first Hokage rolled his eyes and said, what's more, he didn't kill Hokage, he had something to do with me. Hashirama is right, the ninja world is a world where the weak eat the strong. Killing and being killed are just the way of the strong. Uchiha Madara also snorted coldly, his eyes turned in vain, and locked on Chinyu's body, saying, although I don't want to admit it, you did kill me once that day. However, at that time, I was on the verge of death. Even if I used the forbidden technique and burned my last life, I would only return to 2 or 3/10 of the heyday. If you kill me, you will be invincible. Now, I was released by you in pure world reincarnation, but this time I have recovered 50% of my strength. It is not a problem to get rid of the current control. The voice he uttered was like thunder. Uchiha Madara was the first to move, and his hands quickly flipped, forming a series of mysterious spells. When the last magic seal fell, a black light distorted like a phantom of death, escaping directly into the void. Impure world reincarnation solution. Voice fell, and the connection between Uchiha Madara and Chinyu was directly cut off. After all, from the time Uchiha Madara was summoned to the present, Chinyu did not implant a spell to enhance control in their bodies like Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto in the original work. This connection, for ordinary impure world reincarnation objects, may also be forcibly manipulated. But for a legendary ninja like Uchiha Madara, it's of little use. Seeing this scene, Black Zetsu's face was filled with joy, and he hurriedly slapped his ass. Sir Madara, congratulations on getting rid of the control of this hateful person, but... Speaking of which, Black Zetsu couldn't help but take a second look at the original Hokage. Now Uchiha Madara is temporarily standing on their alliance front, but in case the first generation Hokage helps Chinyu, the balance of victory has not changed. Hee, don't stare at me, I'm not involved in this matter. Of course, if this kid knows how to force control, then I can't do anything about it. As he spoke, the first Hokage kept winking at Chinyu. If you let him, in Orochimaru and Danzo, this kind of disgusting reincarnation at every turn, compare it to the guy who studies the human body. Generation of Raikage, the 3rd generation of Kazekage, and the 3rd generation of Mizukage because of this inconsistency, looked even cuter. However, In the face of this blatant expression, Chinyu just smiled and shook his head, looked at Uchiha Madara and said, "Master Hokage, please stay by the side. I waited for a long time. I thought there were 2 or 3 kittens. There is no way for me to let go of the fight and loosen my muscles and bones." Quote. "I said that if I can kill you once, I can kill you twice, even the 3rd time. Madara, are you ready to be killed by me for the 3rd time?" Chapter 314 I Summon 3. The arrogant person, as my younger generation, is so arrogant, I will kill you today. Uchiha Madara's face sank, and the tyrannical chakra dormant in his body exploded like a frenzy. The breath rose into the sky, and it even set off a hurricane and rolled back into the field. The violent scene caused Black Zetsu to quickly withdraw and retreat, landing on the side of Hanzo of the Salamander and others, and said with a livid expression, "The first Hokage didn't make a move, and Madara-sama took the lead. This is an opportunity for a sneak attack." "Hey, are you listening to me?" Black Zetsu urged, slightly displeased. This time, he even sold his old face, which made Uchiha Madara violent. Once, this living Matsuri product could not support impure world reincarnation, Uchiha Madara returned to the netherworld. What awaits them is the unfathomable Uchiha Chinyu. Orochimaru's voiceless exclamation fell in his ears. "That kid, won't you really learn that trick?" The violent scene made everyone's nerves tense. Even Black Zetsu was no exception, and hurriedly followed Chinyu. It was a scene he was familiar with. Chinyu's hands suddenly moved, and at the moment of flying, Susanoo, a huge tens of meters, showed a posture of 3 heads and 6 arms. Yuhi, the orangutan, burst out from the 6 pupils, and they started their hands in an instant. A series of mysterious magic seals flew down like wheels. When the last magic seal fell, a rolling wave of air swooped down from above the 9 heavens. PFF'd. The blasting sound of the air was incessant, and the huge oppressive force directly tore the clouds. This scene, Black Zetsu's pupils shrank suddenly, as Uchiha Madara's little follower. It certainly knows what that means. Starting point is Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, who can't stand it for ordinary people. Hurry up and escape, this kind of battle is not something we can intervene at all. Orochimaru took the lead and retreated. Watching the huge meteorite with a diameter of several hundred meters falling from the sky, the air along the way was even more turbulent like waves. Hundreds of people in the town pulled away like grasshoppers and fled in all directions. It's just that, during this process, people look back from time to time. Uchiha Madara, who was standing in the same place with a gloomy expression, there was a hint of urgency on his face. In their eyes, the fight between ninjas is at most just a fist-fight interaction, casually using ninjutsu. I never thought that Uchiha Chinyu, known as Konoha's blood-colored Asura, would be so shocking as soon as he made his move. Let's start putting meteorites. Looking at the huge battlefield, even the demigods fled with twitching cheeks. Not to mention these little ninjas who have no counterattack. Now, their only thought is to see. Faced with this blow, how did Uchiha Madara, known as the old legend of the Uchiha family, deal with it? Okay, very good. I didn't expect you to even inherit my ninjutsu skills. Today I want to see how you killed me for the 3rd time. Uchiha Madara covered half of her cheeks. The exposed Mangekyo Sharingan, the moment of crazy spinning. The dark blue pupil power exploded like a frenzy. Susanoo dressed in armor like an iron tower. Facing the gigantic meteor that roared down, his hands clenched. Susanoo's sword suddenly, without any fancy, slanted to the sky. Force split out. PFF'd. The air was torn apart in an instant, and the ground pointed to by the sword's edge was cut abruptly. The fierce chi that he brought up was gushed out like a drill. The next moment, with a thunderous gesture, it collided with the falling meteorite. Boom! The dull and thunderous collision sound was like rolling thunder. The huge meteorite was instantly split open by force under the collision of the slightest reluctance. Above the sword's edge, the fierce astral wind contained in it directly detonated, accompanied by a series of explosions and flames rising into the sky. The meteorite caused by Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, quickly shattered inch by inch. A large piece of gravel and dust splashed all over the sky, like a heavy rainstorm. A group of ninjas who fled 500 or 600 meters away looked shocked at the attack that was enough to slash the mountain by slashing the sword at random. Susanoo, transformed by Uchiha Madara, moved again. The sword of Susanoo, held tightly in the other hand, was unsheathed again. The fierce astral wind descended together and ran through the sky. Boom! A low sonic boom suddenly sounded. The air seemed to be penetrated, and the scattered sand and dust in the sky also rolled back around, giving people a feeling that the clouds and mists were seen to the sky. However, it is another Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, that is not inferior in size. Facing Madara's violent thrusts, they collided instantly. Boom! The sound of thunderous explosions was completely incessant. The crushed meteorite was shattered again, turning into a sandstorm and falling down at the same time. With gestures, Uchiha Chinyu's attack was resolved. This made Uchiha Madara a smile on his face. This intergenerational confrontation can be regarded as a jackpot. Be careful! Black Zetsu's urgent cry came suddenly. Uchiha Madara was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly looked up at the sky, the sight of which made his pupils shrink suddenly. The meteorite that fell from the sky and rapidly enlarged in his pupils made him feel caught off guard. This Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, the horse has become 3. What's wrong? Can't I summon 3? Chinyu smiled playfully, the 9 tomo in his pupils turned in vain, and his right hand suddenly caught it. Gravity pupil tenfold. Boom! Invisible gravity poured down on the meteorite like a frenzy. After the first 2 bought time, the distance between them was not far away. Under the blessing of 10 times the gravity, the power of the swooping rolling increased instantly, and the short kilometer distance was only shortened in the blink of an eye. Without any bells and whistles, it slammed heavily on Susanoo's body. Boom! The dull thunder-like collision sound gave people a posture like destroying the world. The huge impact, coupled with the blessing of gravity, made Susanoo take a beat slower to block if he wanted to react. The ground under his feet was the first to be unable to withstand this mountain-like oppressive force. The next moment, there was a cracking sound, and then it cracked open like a spider web in front of everyone's eyes. From the 100-meter Susanoo, there was a deafening sound of heavy objects hitting the ground. Under the watchful eyes of the public, he was forced to lie on the ground. Trapped in it, Uchiha Madara twitched her cheeks with anger. If he wasn't a product of impure world reincarnation, he would have opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Staged a breathless death. A moment ago, he also threatened to kill Chinyu. Didn't think of it at all, starting with a Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, let him fall into the pit of course. Chapter 315 Boom! The huge impact, with a crushing taste, swept the entire town. The buildings passed along the way were torn to shreds in an instant and turned into ruins like paper. Susanoo, who was on the ground, struggled frantically under the hysterical roar of Uchiha Madara. The 6 arms were under the blessing of gravity, and the fingers were like spears, directly buckled on the huge meteorite. Susanoo, who had been crushed to the ground, was lifted up with a bang, and his body even stood up inch by inch. Uchiha Madara, with a big hair like Kamui, and Senju Hashirama sitting cross-legged on the side, she couldn't help looking at Chinyu when her face was excited, and said, "Boy, Madara is only 50% or 60% of the strength left in the heyday." However, such an attack is very difficult to defeat him. Do you have any other means? As Uchiha Madara's strongest opponent and the one who knows him best, Senju Hashirama certainly knows his depths. But he was more interested in Uchiha Chinyu. He wanted to see if this junior could reach their heights. Really? Chinyu sighed, his eyes turned to Madara's body in vain. I originally wanted to warm up, but now it seems that the audience can't wait. The inexplicable words made the expressions of the people present stagnate. The next moment, Chinyu clenched his hands suddenly, his eyes were like hawks, and instantly became as sharp as a blade. Boom! With a heavy step, the ground under his feet shattered, and under the crackling electric arc, Chinyu switched directly to the chakra mode. With the help of body activation, the speed was obviously increased to ultimate, like a thunderbolt, tearing the air and appearing in front of Susanoo outside Uchiha Madara. Without any transformation, the four fingers of the right hand suddenly tightened, and under the thunder light, it was like an indestructible thunder light spear, with an indomitable posture, mixed with rolling sound, and stabbed down. Boom! A flat thunder. The splashing thunder light raged and swept away like an electric snake. At the same time, the huge impact made Susanoo, who is 100 meters tall, fly upside down by more than 10 meters in an instant. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he hit the heavy city wall of the town, and then stopped his body with a bang. Looking at this huge body over 100 meters, this violent blow directly knocked it into the air, and many people gasped and exclaimed a monster at the same time. Then I saw Uchiha Madara laughing like crazy. Haha, bastard, if I'm not mistaken, it's Kumogaku's little trick, but it's ridiculous that you want to beat me like this. Really? Chinyu responded with a smile, instantly tensing everyone's nerves. I hurriedly followed the sound, and the thunder arc that was raging around the body suddenly surged, like a frenzy, and poured directly into the right hand. The next moment, the goal was the moment when the transformation between the four fingers turned into one. The sound of puffing and tearing of cloth resounded suddenly, and Shu Liguang, who was swallowing and swallowing, became more and more condensed, as if it had turned into an entity. The whole body is covered with mysterious thunder patterns. Without any bells and whistles, Chinyu took another step forward. Under the blessing of the Raiden Thunder-style instant body, like a ghost, he first appeared in front of Susanoo on Uchiha Madara's body. Figure just stood firm, occupying the pupils of Uchiha Madara. It was a stab from hell. Boom! And with a lightning-fast attitude, he stabbed towards the mighty Susanoo. With the strong light blooming, the arc splashed and raged. A crisp cracking sound suddenly came out, and the cobweb-like cracks spread quickly. Uchiha Madara's face changed at first, and then he suddenly woke up. As Mangekyo's Sharingan turned frantically, roars continued. Fool, get out of my way! The surging pupil power, like a volcanic eruption, exploded directly out of Uchiha Madara's body. The next moment, like a vast ocean, it poured frantically into Susanoo's body. The originally cracked spider web was quickly repaired under this enormous force, and in a blink of an eye, the mighty armor covering Susanoo's body was restored to its original state. Oh, your tortoise shell is also quite resistant. Qinfeng let out a sigh, and the violent thunder light on his body subsided slightly. Susanoo, who was originally bound by gravity, finally broke free, and his huge hand, like a banana, slapped Chinyu head-on. However, this rage-filled attack has explosive power that surpasses the limit. However, in the face of all this, Chinyu stood in the same place as if turning a blind eye. This scene, Uchiha Madara, who had lost all faith in the fight just now, laughed horribly. Boy, you are in a daze at this time, but you have to pay the price with your life. You die for me. The rolling voices give people a feeling of winning. However, in the eyes of Nagato and others, his cheeks twitched slightly. Looking at the ignorance that is known as the legend of the Uchiha clan and can be compared with the god of the ninja world, it seems to see the two of them not long ago. Boom! With a tenacious posture, the big hand that slapped down with lightning speed, passed through Chinyu's body in an instant, and slapped it on the ground again. Boom! The thunderous roar made the ground instantly shattered. The cracked ground and the rolling sand and dust rolled back like a tornado. Uchiha Chinyu returned to normal after rippling ripples. While everyone's pupils shrank, even Senju Hashirama, who was watching the play, suddenly became interested. This should be space-time ninjutsu, right? Senju Hashirama guessed and said to himself, in an instant just now, the aura that existed in this world disappeared without a trace, and after the attack, it recovered again. Isn't this also one of Mangekyo's Sharingan's pupil techniques? You kid, how evil is the awakened bloodline, with so many pupil techniques changes? As the god of the ninja world, he was able to create ninjutsu with a long name that even Uchiha Madara complained about when he was young. I have also seen the second-generation Hokage, Senju Tobirama's time and space ninjutsu, so Senju Hashirama's vision is not comparable to ordinary people. Looking at Chinyu walking out of the scattered dust, the curiosity on his face became even more intense. However, compared to Senju Hashirama, the melon-eating crowd, Uchiha Madara was obviously unable to hold back his breath. At the same time as he roared, Susanoo's 6 arms flew incessantly, and smashed down to Chinyu in a swift manner. All of a sudden, the sound of beating drums can be heard incessantly, only that one in the sand and dust, like a figure walking in a courtyard, walking like a devil, tensing everyone's nerves. The face of Uchiha Madara, who escaped from the trap, there was a crazy attack, and a sturdy tortoise shell. Desperately want to know how to decide the winner. Chapter 316 Like a god and a devil descended. Boom! The dull thunderous slaps echoed in the sky in all directions. Under the tension of everyone's nerves, a figure finally shot out from the dust. The violent scene instantly affected Uchiha Madara's nerves. While roaring, a pair of big hands attacked Chinyu together. Boy, where do you escape? I don't believe that your time-space ninjutsu can be flawless. A legend of the Uchiha clan who are said to be comparable to the gods of the ninja world. Uchiha Madara was indeed furious, but he couldn't take Chinyu down for a long time, and he gradually calmed down despite his anger. In Yinju's eyes, the pair of hands that slammed together with lightning speed were reflected, and his face was hideous. Boom! The powerful slap, the rewinding airflow, swept away like a frenzy. As it rolled away, it brought a suffocating feeling. The place where the slightly raised hands slammed together made Uchiha Madara's face show a hint of ecstasy. Haha, it's successful, don't you like to run away very much? Why don't you run away? Uchiha Madara laughed recklessly. However, as soon as the voice fell, the palms that were trying to merge with each other were slightly raised. The sudden scene touched the nerves of many people. After all, this start was Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, which was like a battle between gods and men. But it overturned their cognition. If, even the attacks of Uchiha Madara and other existences, there is no way to suppress Chinyu. Then, the title of Konoha's blood-colored Asura, after this battle, may be in full swing. Feeling the tension coming back from Susanoo, Uchiha Madara's expression stagnated, too late to think, and the remaining two hands pressed down in a hurry. 3 pairs of big hands, like the blessing of 3 big mountains, have the strength to roll on them. However, in the face of this scene, when you put it in your hands again, the slightly raised arc seems to give people an illusion of motionlessness. To cause such a situation, it meant that Uchiha Madara displayed that seemingly incomparable attack, and there was no way to shake Chinyu by half a point. To be unscathed under the rolling of 3 pairs of big hands, it takes a huge amount of strength. Might Dai and Ji Ujiya, who had been acting as the melon eaters, couldn't help but glance at each other. After seeing Qinyu's godlike strength with his own eyes, an absurd thought popped into his mind. Could it be that kid has learned the formation of the 8 inner gates? The thought flashed by, and the two hurriedly looked at the moment. The 3 pairs of big hands that were originally closed seemed to be impacted by an invisible force in an instant. The light blue air waves splashed and leaked in his palms like a hurricane. The next moment, the 3 pairs of big hands seemed to be unable to resist, and were instantly stretched. Boom! The huge force feedback directly caused Uchiha Madara to let out a muffled groan. Susanoo took a few steps back and slammed into the city wall again. Looking at Chinyu, who was covered in blue water vapor, Uchiha Madara's expression changed drastically, and at the same time, he drove Susanoo to stand up in a hurry again, and took the awe-inspiring wind with his right hand and threw it out again. However, this time, Chinyu took the lead. The moment when both hands suddenly clenched their fists. There was a long whistle in his mouth. What he has to do now is to see how many doors he can open based on his current physical condition. The 8 inner gates, the 6th gate, the view gate, is open. Boom! The violent air waves exploded instantly like a frenzy. Chinyu took the first step, and achieved a certain level of physical skills, which was enough to reach the level of instant body. Everyone reacted. Susanoo's big hand waved in an instant. Chinyu clenched his hands and fingers suddenly, like a cannonball, tore through the air and slammed out. Uchiha Madara, I hope God will love you and be my whetstone. Morning Peacock. The movement of both fists, the wind is like a tide, the speed of ultimate friction, under the activation of the body cells by the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode, sparks burst into the sky in an instant. The 100-meter-high Susanoo was instantly enveloped in it. From a distance, it looks like a peacock opening its screen, shaking people's hearts. This is taiju. Just by throwing high-speed punches and rubbing against the air to form a huge fire fist impact, this kid's taiju is probably better than Tobirama. Senju Hashirama couldn't help but be surprised. However, when these words came out, the words that fell in his ears pried his nerves. No, for him, this is probably just the beginning. Might Guy and Kosuke rushed to Senju Hashirama's side. Thinking of that, not long ago, they despised Chinyu and privately took the technique of the 8 inner gates as a bet and taught it to Uchiha Chinyu. In their eyes, such advanced physical techniques can only be practiced successfully with perseverance. It didn't take more than 10 years, or even decades, to become a master. It never occurred to me that Uchiha Chinyu, who is known as Konoha's blood-colored Asura, actually only took half a day to open the 6th door. Seeing that look of ease Might Dai and Gyugia couldn't help but throb in their hearts. I murmured in my heart. This time, they may have accidentally created a body art monster. You mean, this is the beginning? Senju Hashirama couldn't help but linger. The next moment, the battle in the sky seemed to be responding to him. Frantic roar from Uchiha Madara suddenly sounded. Damn boy! Kaden fire style, dust hidden art. The hot fly ash, swallowed out of Uchiha Madara's mouth, passed through Susanoo's body in an instant, and quickly rolled back around. The next moment, like a misty-horned dragon, it rolled and wrapped around Uchiha Chinyu. As soon as the dust approached, as soon as it touched Mars, a series of rumbling explosions were instantly emitted. The flames emerged, intending to engulf Chinyu in an instant. At the same time, with the help of these little tricks to cover the line of sight, to gain a breather time and regroup again. However, the idea just popped into Uchiha Madara's mind. The next moment, a thunderous roar, like a magic sound, penetrated everyone's nerves. The 8 inner gates, the 7th gate, the door opens. Boom! The blue sweat, like a steaming volcano erupting, exploded in front of everyone's eyes. The next moment, the dust that had just approached Qinyu's side rolled back like a frenzy. Looking at Yuhi's blood-like complexion, the blue veins on his face are prominent, like a ferocious centipede, and the outgoing breath is matched with the pair of 9 Tomo Mangekyo Sharingan with Yuhi's blood as blood. The empty and stepping-like figure in front of him gave people the illusion of a god and a demon descending into the world. Is that human being? Ridiculous thoughts popped up in his mind, whether it was the melon eaters present, or even Senju Hashirama, who had been indifferent and only slightly interested. At this moment, he also sat up straight. Chapter 317 Thunderstorm Day Tiger. In the huge battlefield, everyone fell into a dead silence. Looking at the sky, Qinyu, who was like a god, bathed in transpiring blue sweat, had an inexplicable urgency on his face. The dust that rolled back instantly revealed Susanoo, who enveloped Uchiha Madara. Meters apart, although I was in Susanoo, I felt this indescribable aura, like an invisible big hand clenching my heart tightly. Uchiha Madara didn't have time to think about it, as the dust rolled away. His hands flew up quickly, forming a series of spell marks. The next moment, the mouth bulged, and the fiery chakra rushed in, accompanied by the sound of puffing the air. One after another, the flames of the dragon head, like a gust of wind and rain, attacked Uchiha Qinyu from the air. Kaden Fire Style Dragon Flame Jutsu. The distance of more than 100 meters was only in the blink of an eye. As soon as the flames of the dragon head came out, even the temperature around them suddenly soared. Seeing that the attack was approaching, Qinyu moved. Under the eyes of the public, his hands were intertwined like lightning. The next moment, his eyes were instantly sharp like a falcon, and the aura of the whole person was exposed. Hands with special imprints point out from the air. Puff. As soon as he pointed out, the space was shattered like a mirror, and the air ripples opened. The oncoming flame of the dragon head seemed to have a stagnation. The next moment, waiting for everyone to react. The endless aura emanating from the body is like a surging sea, and it gathers frantically. Thunderstorm Day Tiger. Roar. Howling shakes the hills, Longyan reaches Jushao. A giant tiger of dozens of meters condensed in an instant, and the crackling arc raged across the sky, and the bloody mouth suddenly slammed down. With a fierce and unparalleled attitude, he rushed out. Wherever they passed along the way, the flames of the dragon head that filled the sky, like paper paste, were instantly crushed, and scattered like smoke between the sky and the earth. At the same time, the might of the tiger was surging like a tide, under everyone's astonished gaze. As if twisting the space, teleported, and came to Uchiha Madara one step ahead. Boom! The collision sound like thunder pierced the ears, and it went straight to the sky above the 9 heavens. The rolled-up surging waves gave people the illusion of a Category 12 hurricane passing through. The buildings that had been shattered along the way were finally unable to support them under this kind of attack, and they collapsed with a hum. The oncoming wind and sand, the mighty power that swept through the sky, made it extremely difficult for people to even open their eyes. However, in the face of all this, the people present did not take it to heart. It can be said that what they are most eager to see now is the final confrontation between the old and new legends of the Uchiha family. Known as the Uchiha clan, Susanoo, who is absolutely defensive, will win and lose against the mighty ninja technique. Cracked. I don't know who exclaimed, looking at the giant tiger in the majestic Susanoo like a meteor falling from the sky. The seemingly indestructible armor made a crisp cracking sound in an instant, spreading out cobweb-like cracks. The next moment, it burst open like a mirror. The giant vacuum tiger surrounded by thunderstorms collided with Uchiha Madara in an instant. Boom! A dull, thunderous explosion sounded incessantly. The already precarious city wall was destroyed in an instant. At the same time as the earth crumbled, the gravel and dust rolled back, giving people a feeling of covering the sky and the sun. Many people who could not escape melon-eating people were even overturned by the oncoming gravel. Senju Hashirama, who has always been calm, stand up straight. Looking up into the sky, the figure bathed in blue steam and crackling arcs was full of disbelief. Successful, he really succeeded. Even I have been training hard for decades, but I have not been able to complete the 7th gate of Master. He actually spent half a day learning it. If you let Guy know, his hard training the 8 inner gates, the formation, even the absolute defense of the Uchiha clan has been shattered, he will definitely be full of admiration. Might Dai was so excited that he was incoherent. Genin has always been, but let Guy, shame and ridicule. Although he has always supported the practice of taijutsu, Guy gave Might Dai the feeling that he was groping forward in confusion in the dark road. It can be said that Guy doesn't even have the goal in front of him. However, now Uchiha Chinyu was able to exert the power of the theoretical formation of the 8 inner gates to such an extent. Even Uchiha Madara, known as the legend of the Uchiha clan, was able to directly turn it over. If other taijutsu ninjas know about it, it will definitely become a guiding light. After all, Might Dai's physical strength can't be compared to Uchiha Chinyu. Opening 6 doors is already the limit. Once the 7 doors are opened, the strength of the body may not be able to support it, and the muscles and bones will be damaged. Unless you have the determination to die, the 8th gate is even more difficult than ascending to the sky. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. A hysterical roar rang out in the endless sandstorm. A figure that destroyed half of his body rushed out from the dust. Looking at the half of his body that was quickly reorganizing like pieces of clay. This bizarre scene simply gave a shocking feeling. Many people couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. They knew very well that even Uchiha Madara under Susanoo, who had the so-called absolute defense of the Uchiha clan, could not resist this blow. If it wasn't for impure world reincarnation's immortality, I'm afraid it would be dead by now. In case an attack falls on them, it will definitely become a pile of meat-chan. Haha, impure world reincarnation is really against the sky, but the only flaw is that it can't beat people. Chinyu felt the sourness from all over his body. However, it gives me a chance to open the 8th door. At this moment, the small voice swept the audience like a hurricane. Madara, who was roaring hysterically and seeking revenge for Uchiha Chinyu, was instantly dumbfounded. The breath that suddenly became heavy and rapid, and the eyes that were almost split, were all unbelievable. The mere 7th gate can turn the legend of the Uchiha clan over. If it really opens to the 8th gate, who can fight against Uchiha Chinyu? Once it's time to stand out, who can hinder his pace? Thinking of this, the 5 great ninja villages, the so-called alliances, seemed pale and powerless. Senju Hashirama also had a feeling of being unable to sit still, and he stopped talking. However, before they could react, the situation in front of them changed again. Falling into the eyes, many people were shocked. Chapter 318 Powerful and Despairing. The huge ruins of the town, the sand and dust rolled away. The endless airwaves collapsed like a tide, and the whole world fell into an inexplicable silence. Facing the 8th gate, everyone's breathing became rapid. The scene of entering the goal makes people look stagnant. Originally, the body of the soil that was still rapidly reorganizing after enduring the thunderstorm day tiger, the thunderous blow. The speed of recovery, there was a slight stagnation at first, and the next moment, like a mirror, it suddenly cracked. As the crack quickly spread and opened, the only remaining half of Uchiha Madara's cheek was distorted. You bastard, this time I'm only showing 50% of my strength. Madara, it's already 60 or 70, don't run the train with your mouth full, it's a shame to deceive the juniors. Senju Hashirama suddenly cut in. Uchiha Madara's expression froze, and the roar continued. Shut up, this is a natural fool, but I have 12 points of strength. Black Zetsu, let me show up next time, let me show the strength of the peak, otherwise I will blow you up first. Uchiha Chinyu, I will definitely let you die without a burial. The rolling voice, mixed with hysteria, made the people present look at each other in dismay. Uchiha Madara's body collapsed inch by inch, the huge aura released by Chinyu was instantly annihilated between heaven and earth. Facing Uchiha Madara's eyes full of resentment, Chinyu smiled genially. Next time we meet, I will use the 8th door to let you continue to dance. You. Uchiha Madara suddenly became angry, which was his mantra. However, he, who made others dance all day, has now become the object of others dancing. The gap between the front and the back is too big. However, before he could reply, the breeze that slowly passed by turned the body of Impure World Reincarnation, which he had been struggling to support at the end, into debris and scattered between the heavens and the earth. For a time, the huge ruins of the town were left with only a messy battle trace. Also, those stiff-faced melon eaters. Your name is Mike Dai, does the 8th door that kid speak of really exist? Senju Hashirama sighed and couldn't help asking. Mike Dai woke up suddenly, feeling the gazes around him, and after opening his mouth, he said with a little excitement, the 8th gate does exist. However, that is the door of death. Once it is opened, you must have the determination to die, and it can be displayed in an instant. It is 10 times stronger than the existence of cage level, and it is above the pinnacle of the ninja world. 10 times the strength of the shadow. There was a sound of gasping for air in the field, and even the pupils of Gyugia on the side could not help shrinking. However, he quickly reacted, and Gyugia said happily, fortunately, the 8th gate is opened, but there are restrictions on death, 10 times the strength of the shadow. I am afraid that even in its heyday, it is said to have 12 points of strength. Madara was fucked again. Faced with this remark, many people also nodded secretly and breathed a sigh of relief. I am not afraid of many enemies, but I am most afraid that the enemy is too powerful to make people desperate. Uchiha Chinyu, who has opened 7 shocking doors, has made him unattainable. Once the 8 doors are opened, it is too powerful to make people desperate. No, Senju Hashirama, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke up. Don't forget, he is a new legend of the Uchiha family, so he cannot be estimated by common sense. I really hope, next time you are summoned by Impure World Reincarnation, don't confront Uchiha Chinyu who has overcome the dead end. These words, Senju Hashirama of Impure World Reincarnation, that mud-like body, also shattered inch by inch, collapsing between heaven and earth. Like Uchiha Madara, the summoning time was clearly reached. Along with the wind, Senju Hashirama, known as the god of the ninja world, left behind this shocking speech, and disappeared completely without a trace. However, in the face of this remark, the eyes of many people were locked on Uchiha Chinyu's body, his Adam's apple rolled down, and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva subconsciously. Chinyu landed on the ground in midair, his eyes suddenly turned, and he swept over Danzo and the others one by one. This glance made them feel like a god of death. The scene just now that was like a fight between gods seemed very complicated, but it was only a few minutes before and after. In the eyes of Danzo, Black Zetsu and others, they thought that this battle was encouraging Uchiha Madara to rise up. Was able to find a flaw and gave Uchiha Chinyu a lightning-quick sneak attack. But I never thought that the imagination is beautiful, and the reality is full of skinny. However, whether it was Danzo, Black Zetsu, or even Orochimaru, without the slightest hesitation, he turned around and ran away. After witnessing Chinyu with his own eyes, the Kamui-like fighting style, whoever gets tougher will die without a doubt. For a time, on the huge battlefield, the 4 people who led this hunt, only Hanzo of the Salamander, known as the demigod, remained. This scene, the Anbu ninjas of a Megakure village who were hiding in the dark, had no time to think about it, and rushed out one after another. Under the belief instilled in their minds, the leader will not retreat, and the only thing that can be done is to fight to the death. Lord Hanzo, let's fight with you. Lord Hanzo, even if we break our heads and shed blood, we won't snort. The voice of the awe-inspiring death sounded one after another in the field. Just a few dozen seconds, there were hundreds of confidants standing around Hanzo of the Salamander. An awe-inspiring aura of death was gathered in an instant. This scene made Akatsuki and the others look embarrassed. Compared with these two major power groups, a Megakure Anbu, who are not afraid of death, who are often in strife, obviously cannot compare with them. However, it's not their fault. Hanzo of the Salamander, the confidant of Anbu under his command, all use the dead men of the family power, brainwashed since childhood. Only the leader can decide their life and death, they must not say half a word. It can be said that the difference is not big in ordinary tasks, but in this situation of life and death, all meanings are different. For a time, everyone's eyes were locked on Hanzo of the Salamander. Nagato, Yahiko and Conan fell on Chinyu's side and said in a deep voice, "You must have been tired from the battle just now. Why don't you leave Hanzo of the Salamander to us to deal with?" As the second largest force in a Megakure village, it has been stumped by Hanzo of the Salamander one after another. If it wasn't for Chinyu's repeated efforts to save him, then what awaited them would have already been the demise of Akatsuki. Therefore, in this fight, the old hatred and the new hatred are counted together. Either you die or the rhythm of my death. However, just after these words fell, under the astonished eyes of everyone, they saw Hanzo of the Salamander grabbing the chain sickle around his waist. Under the watchful eyes of the public, he made a shocking move. Chapter 319 _ You all get out. Hanzo of the Salamander's slightly vicissitudes of speech came out, and before everyone's eyes, he fell to his knees on the ground with a thud. The chain side raised in his hand slashed straight to his abdomen. The violent scene was like a samurai cutting the belly, which made the expressions of the people in the field change drastically. However, under this close distance, no one can stop it. The next moment, the scythe instantly pierced Hanzo of the Salamander's waist. PFF'd. Blood splattered, and a large amount of purple liquid overflowed. This is from the village of a Megakure. The unique sansho fish is highly poisonous. That day, Hanzo of the Salamander, after successfully killing the sansho fish, took off its poison sac and buried it in his own body. This caused every breath he breathed to be highly poisonous. Just stay in the same place with him for a while. That would be poison to death unknowingly. It is for this reason that Hanzo of the Salamander wears this breathing apparatus. Hanzo of the Salamander, known as the demigod, is the place where the poison sac is buried. The violent scene changed a Megakure Anbu's expression drastically. The captain who took the lead was the first to shout in a hurry, "Master Hanzo! Why are you doing this? We can fight to the end." The hysterical growl seemed to confirm the rest of a Megakure Anbu's thoughts. However, in the face of this scene, Hanzo of the Salamander's eyes became brighter and he turned to Uchiha Chinyu in vain and said, "In this life, I, Hanzo of the Salamander, as the supreme leader of a Megakure village, opened up the battlefield of World War II. It is even more pressing against Konoha Ninja Village, and even the 5 major countries. In the Third Ninja World War, it was more about dealing with great powers. It seemed like a glorious sight, but the title of the demigod made me rest on my laurels." The voice of the vicissitudes of life, with a tragic taste, turned his eyes in vain, fell on the 3 Nagato, and immediately laughed loudly. "I am obsessed with the regime, but ignore the importance of my own strength, and I am afraid of a new small force undermining my rule. However, the worst decision I made in my life was to fight with Uchiha Chinyu. You are the enemy." They can escape, but I, Hanzo of the Salamander, have no face to face the clan, and instead of letting the clan under my command be buried with them, I hope you can, let me apologize to me with death. The slightly long-sounding voice reverberated between heaven and earth. Everyone's expressions couldn't help but change slightly, and they looked at Hanzo of the Salamander with a little more respect. Just as he was about to say a few words of admiration, a ghostly body burst out in the underground ruins behind Chinyu. In close proximity, but 2 or 3 meters apart. The man with the bandaged face and the white hair on his face roared with joy while his face was mad. Maiden, shade-style, evil self-destruction fight. As soon as the white figure appeared behind Chinyu, his right hand suddenly probed, and the pitch-black Uzumaki quickly opened, and the fiery light instantly lit up. If I didn't feel wrong, this breath should be the same as Uchiha Madara. As long as this strike hits, the godlike boy in front of him and Akatsuki's 3 leaders will definitely die in an instant. The violent scene made Nagato and the others nervously tense, and they hurriedly pulled away to help, but they suddenly found that their body had become abnormally dull, and an indescribable numbness swept through the whole body. At this juncture, it was impossible to react in time. This strange scene not only happened to the 3 of Nagato, but even Kosuke and Might Dai, as well as other Akatsuki members, noticed something was wrong. Looking at the sudden scene, the man who suddenly attacked, opened his mouth wrapped in bandages, and showed a smile of successful trickery. However, he hadn't seen the victory that he ushered in. The next moment, he saw a big hand, which quickly enlarged in his pupil power with lightning speed. Without any bells and whistles, it was directly buttoned on his face. The next moment, the 5 fingers suddenly exerted force, and the whole body was pulled out from the soil. Like a battle axe, it smashed down directly to the ground, mixed with violent thunder. Raiden Thunder style 2000 streamers of flat abuse. Boom. The thunder-like cracking sound was simply roaring incessantly. The whole ground, as if overwhelmed, collapsed in response. The huge impact force even shattered dozens of meters of rock formations along the way. Like a sandbag, the white-haired man who was hit hard on the ground spat out a mouthful of blood in disbelief, his entire sternum shattered and collapsed. That miserable appearance is simply outrageous. Hanzo of the Salamander, who was still performing a sensational scene and chose to commit suicide, didn't have time to think about it, and planned to get out and stand up. But the next moment, the ground with a radius of more than 10 meters suddenly swelled. When the soil turned outwards, snow-white bone spears, like long spears, directly penetrated his body. PFF'd. The sound of the cloth being torn came out, and blood splashed and splattered on the ground, like a shocking blood-colored flower. Hanzo of the Salamander, who was pierced by dozens of bone spears, looked at Kimimaro who came out in disbelief, and looked at Chinyu with blood spitting out. 4. Why would you know my plan? Why, you are not poisoned. Looking at the huge ninja world, the poison of Sanjiao fish is one of the best. Most importantly, its poisonous gas is still colorless and odorless, capable of killing people invisibly. Ordinary people will surely die if they touch it a little. Hanzo of the Salamander firmly believes that he will be able to kill him by poisoning him as long as he is not out of the realm of human beings. In the eyes of Hanzo of the Salamander, he is different from bachelor commanders like Danzo. He also has a regime under his command that took decades to build. On the occasion of Good Night, I am even more obsessed with this. Get Hanzo of the Salamander to give up these powers, even in the face of Uchiha Chinyu, the monks can't run away from the temple. So, Hanzo of the Salamander is going to put on a good show. With this awe-inspiring attitude of dying, he cut the poison sac on his body. Let the colorless and odorless toxins of Sanjiao fish into the air, and then use words to delay time. In the end, let the last trump card hidden in the dark display a lightning-fast killing move to directly take Chinyu's life. Although, Hanzo of the Salamander has experienced Chinyu's marvelous time-space ninjutsu. But in his eyes, as long as he finds that he is poisoned and his body is a little dull, there will definitely be a flaw in the person. As long as this is caught, Chinyu will surely die. However, now looking at Chinyu, who was completely unaffected, Hanzo of the Salamander's face was full of disbelief. Hanzo of the Salamander, you put on a good show, but it's a pity that you meet me who can't tell the truth. Chinyu said with a dry smile. I forgot to tell you, Master Tsunade, but half of my master, your poison, she has written it down long ago and developed an antidote. Unfortunately, when I came here, I was more afraid of death, so I made several copies in advance, and there was also a form of air volatile agent, which could neutralize the poison you released into the air, the pepper fish. In a word, Hanzo, you died rightly. Chapter 320. Do you like to tickle me? Are you Tsunade's apprentice? Hanzo of the Salamander's expression froze, his face full of disbelief. The Second Ninja World War, a Megakure village was the main battlefield. As a local force, it is even more involved in provoking the Second Ninja War. Hanzo of the Salamander has played against Konoha Sannin many times. Among them, the power of Hanzo of the Salamander comes from almost no solution toxins. The armies of various countries have failed one after another, mostly because of the colorless and odorless Sancho toxin. The Konoha shinobi village was spared, and Sannin survived. The most important thing is that they have Tsunade's powerful healing ninjutsu as the backing, and they have the capital of the waves. With Tsunade's talent as one of the best in medical ninjutsu, it was not a problem to develop an antidote for Sancho fish toxin. As Tsunade's eldest disciple, Shizune had already passed on this important antidote to Chinyu in private. You can say that. Chinyu touched the tip of his nose and replied with a thick face. Tsunade, who has always been irritable, knew that he had passively accepted half of his male apprentices. I wonder if he would get angry and tie him back to verify his identity. Jia and the others on the side couldn't help but startled. Soon he saw that Chinyu took out a glass vessel that looked like a smoke bomb with his backhand. Without the slightest hesitation, he threw it directly to the ground. Boom! The glassware shattered instantly, and a slightly sweet smell rolled away with the wind, and soon neutralized the poisonous gas in the field. Boy, you don't even have an affair with Master Tsunade, do you? Kosuke couldn't help asking. However, as soon as the voice fell, he saw a corpse deep in the ruins behind Chinyu. He opened his eyes suddenly, and under the hand seal with both hands, the collapsed chest and abdomen recovered like a balloon. The next moment, he performed the Doden Earth-style technique, which was directly integrated into the soil. The violent scene changed the expressions of many people in the field. This person who has been lurking for a long time, they saw with their own eyes. They took a heavy blow from Chinyu in the front, and the sternum was broken. Now that he has suddenly recovered, and even fled far away, this gap is too much. However, when I think about it, I saw that Danzo and Orochimaru just now, all kinds of immortality methods emerge in an endless stream. Instead, let them smile and let them go. It's just that this idea came to Jia and Might Dai's mind just now, and the words that fell in their ears the next moment made their expressions change drastically. Hirako, since you're here, why do you have to leave in a hurry? Chin-Yuju, Tomo Mangekyo Sharingan, turned around abruptly. The endless gravity, centered on him, rolled down like an invisible mountain. Boom! The sound of the earth shaking and the mountains caused the rock formations to sink. Some grounds couldn't bear this tenfold force, and they shattered and spread in an instant. From the ground several dozen meters away from Chinyu, a miserable cry suddenly came. The next moment, through the shocking crack, a figure can be seen trapped in it. However, in the face of this sudden gravitational blessing, Hirako's body repaired tenaciously again. At the same time, under 10 times the gravity, the hands awkwardly formed a series of spells. Steel escape tempering. The metallic luster quickly swept through Hiriko's body, instantly metallizing his body. In this state, a weapon that is also metal is not only indestructible, it is hardened and stronger than Kakuzu's Doden Earth style. Maiden Shade style, hole-sucking hole. Hiriko growled in a hurry. He never imagined that Chinyu would be able to reveal his identity in a single sentence, and at the same time he was associated with Tsunade, one of the Sanins. With the black hole unfolding, the surrounding gravity loosened a little. Hiriko used the Doden Earth style stealth technique again and ran away quickly. However, this time, because the body is hardened, there is no doubt that there is no need to consider the damage to the body during sneaking. Therefore, the speed has obviously more than doubled, and in a blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. Jia and Might Dai suddenly woke up and were about to chase after them, but were stopped by Uchiha Chinyu. Stop chasing him, he is not the tail of the crane of the day. The forbidden technique is not completely successful, but it is enough to be pervert-like Orochimaru. Your conventional attack methods can't kill him. Chinyu glanced at the direction Hiriko was leaving, patted Kosuke on the shoulder. After seeing Hiriko's call, he was able to recover instantly after encountering such a deadly attack. Chinyu thought of a way to overcome the shortcomings of the formation of the 8 inner gates. What's more, the current Hiriko has a little use. With that, the last assassin fled. The huge ruins were instantly shrouded in inexplicable depression. Looking at the Hanzo of the Salamander who swore to the death and did not retreat, still guarding around Hanzo of the Salamander, who had been pierced through his body, a tense atmosphere was created from the bottom of his heart. However, at this moment, whether it was Kosuke and others, or Nagato and others leading Akatsuki, even Anbu from a Megakure village, and even Hanzo of the Salamander, who was weak, had their eyes locked on Chinyu's body. You all look nervous. Chinyu suddenly smiled warmly. In front of everyone's eyes, he took a step forward, tightening everyone's nerves like a ghost. All guards, protect Hanzo-sama to retreat. Captain Megakure Anbu roared anxiously. In the backhand, he grabbed the chakra hilt on his back. However, before he could pull out the chakra knife, a familiar voice came from behind. Did you know, if I wanted to kill you, you would already be dead? Chinyu patted Captain Anbu's shoulder with a smile. This calm attitude made his nerves suddenly tense. Before I could think about it, I pulled out the chakra knife with my backhand and poured chakra into it. The waist plate suddenly turned like a hurricane, and the chakra knife in his hand, with a light blue light, slashed towards Chinyu's neck. The violent blow, coupled with the close distance, gave people a feeling that there was no way to hide. Do not. To be precise, facing the attack of Captain Megakure Anbu in front of him, Chinyu had no intention of evading or taking action. That seemingly fierce and unparalleled attack, when it was an inch away from Chinyu's body surface, the crackling arc of thunder splattered away. When the thunderlight and the blade collided instantly, and the huge impact force directly broke the chakra knife. Half of the blade was slanted into the ruins not far away under the watchful eyes of the public. Looking at Chinyu, who was standing still like an iron tower, Captain Anbu, who shot angrily, trembled slightly with his hands clenching the chakra knife. What's the matter? Do you all like to tickle me? Chinyu said with a dry smile. Give you a chance, let's all go together.